Pokémon, the Shiny Pokémon Attractor. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 401. The battle was on, and the battle was on. The Beedrill flew around in the air, and the giant claw mantis jumped flexibly on the round platforms. Every collision was a crisp sound of metal collision. The Pokémon of Wutong and Sinnoh showed amazing speed. But why did the two players stop moving after the initial command? Said the host. Wutong and Sinnoh looked at the battlefield calmly, and now they were just warming up. Among Wutong's Pokémon, the one with the weakest sustained combat ability should be Beedrill. Even the little guys in the second team are much more durable than Beedrill. Of course, there are gains and losses. In terms of instantaneous burst, Beedrill can definitely be ranked in the top 3, and this is still a modest statement. It's because Beedrill's instantaneous explosive power is sometimes too terrifying. After all, Beedrill's attack is mainly concentrated on one point, and sometimes it is easy to have serious consequences if it is not controlled well. So if it is not those monster level guys, or the Pokémon that is particularly strong, Wutong doesn't dare to let Beedrill burst with all his strength. Of course, it doesn't matter in a wild fight. It's a wild fight, and most of the time it's a life and death battle. At that time, who has the leisure to care whether it will cause any serious consequences? And Sinnoh's giant claw mantis is one of the few Pokémon that Wutong can let Beedrill burst at will in this level of opponent. After all, Beedrill's burst technology is based on the burst speed method obtained from Sinnoh's father. The warm-up is almost over. Beedrill. Wutong called out. But Beedrill gave up the collision with giant claw mantis and retreated in front of Wutong. Sinnoh did not let giant claw mantis continue to chase, and also let his giant claw mantis retreat. The two pincers of the giant mantis knocked against each other and stared at the giant bee with a fighting spirit. This time it must defeat this guy. The giant bee was very disdainful of the fighting spirit of the giant mantis. Although it could compete with itself in speed, it was much worse than Xiaoxia's giant mantis in terms of explosive power. The blow that cut off the invisible enemy made the giant bee very appreciative. The most important thing for a bug is to kill with one blow. Big B, come on. The long lost sure kill. Iron wall, sharpen. Wutong commanded. Buzz. The giant bee rubbed its long needles twice in response, and the color of the metal condensed from its whole body onto the two long needles. Bray, sword dance. Sinnoh commanded not to be outdone. A small energy sword appeared next to the giant mantis. I don't know where it learned it from. The giant mantis crushed the energy sword with one pincer, and the broken energy flew directly into the body of the giant mantis. Speedy breath, double needle, deadly sting. Wutong said. Bray, final impact. Sinnoh also commanded at the same time. Beedrill took a deep breath, and the dark red lines on its body gradually became brighter, and a burst of heat emanated from Beedrill's body. Mantis leaned down, and the pores on its armor blew out a stream of hot air. There was no signal, but Beedrill and Mantis moved at the same time. If you can keep up with your eyes at the beginning, then now, the audience present really saw two lines cutting through the space. One line is silver and red, and the other line is pure red. The two lines crossed in the air. After the collision between Beedrill and Mantis, the after images of the two Pokémon left in place slowly dissipated. After the collision, Beedrill and Mantis exchanged positions. At this time, the whole body of the giant hornet was constantly emitting heat, and the dark red lines on its body were like a breathing light, cycling back and forth between light and dark. On the other side, the giant claw mantis stood straight on the bridge without moving. The two Pokémon fell into a dead silence until a crisp click sound appeared. Cracks began to appear on one side of the giant claw mantis's body, and the center of the crack was a deep hole. The giant claw mantis shook its body twice and fell directly. Seeing the state of the giant claw mantis, Wutong shook his head helplessly. Sure enough, the giant hornet's ultimate move still needs to be sealed. It is really her ultimate move. If it is not used properly, it is really possible to kill the opposite Pokémon. The giant claw mantis has lost its combat ability. The giant hornet wins. The referee saw the miserable state of the giant claw mantis and announced hurriedly, After the referee announced the result, the emergency medical personnel who had been prepared for a long time rushed out and took the giant mantis away. Seeing that the giant mantis that was carried away was still conscious, Shingo also breathed a sigh of relief. "Your giant bee is too terrible," Shingo said helplessly to Wutong. "Generally speaking, it can only replace most Pokémon of the same level," Wutong said modestly, while taking back the giant bee. "There is no way. Really think that the Nirvana can be released casually. After releasing the ultimate move, the giant bee can't fight temporarily, which fully demonstrates what a fragile assassin is. Sure enough, it is still necessary to let the giant bee find time to learn Assassin's Creed. How can an assassin be so short-lived? Forget it, but I won't give up just like that. Go, Gray." Shingo was not hit by the failure of the giant mantis, but said with more fighting spirit. Banner, a solid figure, appeared. The little guy that Shingo got from Venusaur Garden has now evolved into Venusaur. Vulpes, in that case, Frog, go ahead. Wutong thought for a moment and sent out his own Pokémon. Banner Frog appeared on the field, looked at the environment he was in, and moved his body uncomfortably. There was no way. Compared with Frog's size, there were too few places for it to move in the water field. Chapter 402. The two Bulbasaur of different colors occupied one side of the bridge and stared at each other. In terms of size, Wutong's Frog was obviously 2 circles larger than Shingo's Bulbasaur. If it was on normal land, the frog's size would definitely be full of advantages. However, in a place like the water venue, where there are few footholds, the frog's size has become a disadvantage. "Frog, sunny day," Wutong commanded. Banner, the flower on the frog's back, trembled gently, and orange-yellow light particles flew into the sky. The sky suddenly became clear. It was still morning, but the sun seemed to be as dazzling and scorching as noon. After being exposed to the sun, the dark green leaf-shaped patterns on the frog's body emitted light. "Gray, sunshine flame," Shingo commanded directly, as if he had expected Wutong to let the frog use sunny day first. Banner. White dots of light appeared in the center of the pistil on the back of Shingo's Bulbasaur. It originally needed to absorb sunlight to accumulate energy, but under the influence of sunny day, Bulbasaur instantly accumulated energy. A yellow beam of light shot out and hit the frog directly. At this time, the frog's disadvantage of being inconvenient to dodge was revealed. If it was on a normal field, it would not be so easy to be hit by sunshine flame directly under the acceleration of the frog's chlorophyll characteristics. "Frog, sunshine flame," Wutong commanded calmly. It was not only the frog that was inconvenient to dodge. Banner. The frog made the same operation, and a yellow beam with a larger diameter than that released by Shingo's Bulbasaur was shot out. "Gray, hold on," Shingo commanded decisively. Banner, a green energy shield appeared, and Bulbasaur relied on holding the energy shield to take on Little Frog's attack. "You don't plan to keep wearing down Little Frog's physical strength like this? Too naive, Little Frog, take root," Wutong commanded. Banner, Little Frog cried out in embarrassment. "Boss, there is a pool below. I can't get it." "You are so naive, Gray. Use the leaf blade," Shingo said confidently. Banner. The flower on the back of Bulbasaur trembled, and a large leaf rotated and shot out and hit the little kid. "Well, it can't take root. Little Frog seems to be really restricted by this terrain. No wonder." That guy started again. Shinji said lightly at the friends and relatives seat. Yes, he started acting again. That guy definitely knew that this venue is not friendly to Bulbasaur. Xiaoming followed. "What you said is not the main point, okay? The main point should be the peculiar hobby of Wutong's Bulbasaur," Xiaomao said helplessly. Wutong's Frog once again suffered the attack of Shingo's Bulbasaur because of Wutong's mistake. The balance of victory seemed to tilt slightly towards Shingo at this time. "In that case, let's fight. Little Frog, sunshine flame." Wutong decisively chose the most brainless way. Banner. Little Frog responded with a shout, and a yellow energy beam shot out. "Gray, sunshine flame." Shingo was not afraid and commanded in the same way. Banner. The two yellow energy beams collided. Although Little Frog's beam was thicker, Shingo's Bulbasaur was still as powerful as ever, and the two Pokémon fell into a stalemate. "Little Frog, go ahead. Let it see who Bulbasaur can rely on." The blue light in Wutong's eyes flashed obscurely, and he waved his hand to command. To be honest, this decision was not good, and it was not like a command that Wutong would make. However, Shingo, who was not so familiar with Wutong, did not notice Wutong's abnormality, but just thought that Wutong might be a little bit over the top, and this was an opportunity for him. Gray, don't be afraid. Sunshine flame output at full power. Shingo commanded. Banner. Shingo's Bulbasaur responded, and the yellow energy beam it shot out seemed to become a little thicker. Little Frog followed Wutong's command and walked towards Shingo's Bulbasaur, but its body, which was slightly wider than the bridge, was obviously not suitable for using skills while moving forward. Just after walking 2 steps, Little Frog accidentally stepped on the air, and his body instantly lost balance and fell into the pool. Seeing Little Frog fall into the pool, Shingo smiled victoriously. It seems that he won this round. However, Wutong did not react at all to Xiaoxia's falling into the water, as if the Pokémon that fell into the water was not his. I found that the referee did not say anything, and I felt something was wrong. Gray. Be careful. Shingo hurriedly commanded. However, it was still a step too late. Several thick dark green roots suddenly rushed out of the water on both sides of Venusaur. Gray was directly rushed into the sky, and the next second, the little frog emerged from the water. It didn't look panicked at all after falling into the water, but seemed very accustomed to it. Vulpecula is also a frog, so it's okay to swim. Little Frog, Sunflame. Wutong said. Banner. A yellow energy beam shot out with a cry of the little frog. The Venusaur that was rushed into the sky was directly hit by the Sunflame and then fell into the pool, but there are differences between frogs. Shingo's Venusaur is obviously a land frog, it can't swim. At this time, under the water, long vines stretched out from both sides of the frog's body. The vines were wrapped around the bottom of the pool so that Bulbasaur could float on the water without sinking. As for swimming, there was no specific way to swim, but it was considered swimming as long as it could move in the water. If it was in a normal river or lake, the frog's vines might not be long enough, but this was a pool, and the depth could not exceed the limit of the frog's vines. This gave the frog a chance to swim, and the frog liked water very much, not the grass type Pokémon, but really liked playing in the water. Under Wutong's quiet signal, the frog fell into the water and then turned into a water ghost to launch a sneak attack. Fortunately, the pool was not that deep, and with Shingo's confidence, otherwise the crazy plant might not be successfully launched until Shingo discovered it. Relying on the forced activation of lushness, it quickly passed the side effect of the crazy plant and stiffened and added a Sunflame. Shingo's Bulbasaur was defeated directly. The referee wanted to announce the result, but after looking at the 2 Bulbasaur, he gave up decisively. He just raised the flag on Shingo's side and responded to the rhythm to prove the defeat of Shingo and Bulbasaur. Chapter 403. The 2 sides of the battle were in chaos. After the referee announced the result, Shingo quickly took back his Bulbasaur and then looked at Wutong and Frog with a complicated expression. Who would have thought that a Bulbasaur could swim and even dive? Is this reasonable? Wutong didn't care about Shingo's gaze. In a battle, isn't it normal to have some tactics? However, Wutong didn't plan to let Frog fight anymore and took Frog back directly. Some tactics are one time. If you have prepared them, they will not have any effect and will be used by the opponent in reverse. And the water field is indeed not suitable for Frog to play. So it's better to exchange Frog quickly than to let Frog stay and be tortured. Fortunately, the Pokémon he registered this time, except for Frog, have relatively low requirements for the venue. It doesn't matter whether there is a foothold or not, or what kind of venue it is. Shingo took a deep breath, and his whole state changed. Sure enough, I'm not your opponent, Wutong. Shingo shook his head and said self-deprecatingly, "What's wrong? Are you going to give up?" Wutong asked. "How is it possible? I just realized the gap between us again, but surrendering before the battle is halfway through is not what a trainer should do. I won't give up until the end. Be careful, don't be careless and turn over," Shingo said loudly. "Not bad, very energetic. It seems that you have grown a lot. In this case, let me express my respect for you as an opponent. Go, Fossil Pterosaur." Wutong threw the Pokeball in his hand and said, "Roar." The ancient overlord soared in the sky of the stadium after a long absence. The moment the fossil pterosaur appeared, the whole audience cheered. It's the pterosaur. Wutong sent out the pterosaur. This Pokémon that should have been extinct has appeared on the field again. Wutong already had the pterosaur at the Quartz conference. As a veteran member of Wutong, what kind of wonderful performance will the pterosaur bring us? The host said excitedly. Sure enough, compared with the Pokémon that is so common, that it can't be more common, the pterosaur will attract more attention. Even if Wutong's Beedrill is a special flash, even if the Beedrill is also a veteran member of Wutong, the attention brought by the Beedrill is far less than that of the pterosaur. Seeing the pterosaur surging in the air, Shingo's eyes are firm. Since it's a dragon, go ahead, Beck. Shingo shouted as he threw the Pokeball in his hand. A large shell covered with thorns appeared on the field. The shell opened, revealing a dark face with a smirk, staring at the pterosaur hovering in the air with an eager look. Dragon Slayer? But pterosaur is not a dragon-type Pokémon, Wutong said, although pterosaur is indeed twice as weak to ice. Bulbasaur is a frog. Why is pterosaur not a dragon? I think it looks like a dragon. Baker, what do you think? Shingo asked. Pa. The thorny shell responded, and it was going to kill the stone dragon in the sky today. You are playing with idealism, right? How come your thorny shell has a dinosaur nemesis? Pterosaur, say hello. Sharp stone attack. Wutong commanded. Roar. Pterosaur was also looked down upon. As its wings flapped, sharp rocks appeared and shot at Pterosaur. Bake, get in the water. Shingo commanded. The shell of the thorny shell closed and fell directly into the pool. Pterosaur's greetings were all in vain. How rude, you didn't even respond to the greeting. Wutong teased. How could that be? My Baker is very polite. Baker, ice cone. Shingo responded. A few seconds after Shingo finished speaking, ripples appeared on the water surface, and a large number of small flying knife-shaped ice cones broke through the water surface and shot towards the fossil pterosaur. The fossil pterosaur directly rose to avoid the attack of the ice cone. Continuous attack. This feature is really disgusting when combined with this venue, Wutong said after seeing the size of the ice cone. It seems that it is his turn to be disgusted. Chapter 404. The pterosaur was hiding in the pool, and the thorny shell seemed to have made up its mind not to show up, and it kept releasing ice cones underwater. The pterosaur dodged back and forth in the air, and although it used sharp stones to attack from time to time, it could not see the specific location of the thorny shell. The attack of the pterosaur was really in vain. Roar. The pterosaur was extremely unhappy with the current situation, and roared angrily in the air. But no matter how angry the pterosaur was, it had no effect on the thorny shell, hidden under the water. Fossil pterosaur, calm down. Pull up a little higher, and move with the wind and high speed. Wutong commanded. Wutong's words were still very effective. The fossil pterosaur flew directly to the sky. The airflow wrapped around the fossil pterosaur, and blue fluorescence also flashed on the fossil pterosaur. After 2 skills, the speed of the fossil pterosaur was greatly improved. Beck, keep using the ice cone, don't stop. Although the fossil pterosaur has risen beyond the attack range of the thorny shell, Shingo still let the thorny shell keep attacking. Fossil pterosaur, dragon dance, rush down. Wutong commanded. Roar. The fossil pterosaur roared, climbed to the sky again, and then turned around and went straight down. The pink light covered the whole body of the fossil pterosaur, and there were also some red starlight flashing. The fossil pterosaur folded its wings on both sides of its body, and its body began to rotate. Without the slightest hesitation, the fossil pterosaur directly rotated into the water. The next second, a vortex appeared directly above the water, and the center of the vortex was the fossil pterosaur. The speed boost brought by the tailwind and high-speed movement made the fossil pterosaur rotate much faster. As the fossil pterosaur kept rotating, the entire water venue seemed to have turned into a drum washing machine, and the entire pool was spinning crazily. Although the thorny shell still did not show up, it must be in a bad condition at this time. Beck, hold on. Shingo seemed very calm. Under Shingo's command, the thorny shell still hid in the water and did not show up, even though it had been turned countless times. It's much calmer than I thought. There's no way. Fossil pterosaur, come back. Seeing that Shingo was unmoved, Wutong took the fossil pterosaur back. There was no way. If it continued, the fossil pterosaur would lose its combat capability. Continuous high-speed rotation consumes more than just physical strength. If it lasts for a long time, the fossil pterosaur's brain might be thrown out. Wutong originally wanted to use this trick to force Shingo to call the thorn shell out of the water, but who knew that Shingo was much calmer than he thought. He did not choose to break through by force, but instead competed with the fossil pterosaur for endurance. Obviously, Shingo's idea was successful. Although the fossil pterosaur could continue to rotate, it was meaningless. The vortex caused by the rotation could not cause any harm to the thorn shell. Continuing would only consume too much of the physical strength of the fossil pterosaur. Since you don't want to come out, then don't come out. Go, Xiaoxia, spray flames. Wutong exchanged Pokémon and commanded. Roar. Xiaoxia appeared above the water field, and blood-red flames spurted out of his mouth, directly starting to heat the pool. Beck, stop it, use the spike cannon. Shingo hurriedly commanded. Keep spraying flames, and then use the flame fist. Wutong said. Xiaoxia maintained the posture of spraying fire, with flames burning on his claws and fists. Facing the spike missiles shot from underwater, Xiaoxia shot them all down with both hands. While Xiaoxia and the scorpion were in a stalemate, the temperature of the pool gradually increased. Shingo began to get a little anxious, but there was no good way to solve the current situation. As time went on, the temperature of the water in the pool finally exceeded the limit of the scorpion's tolerance, and it would be cooked if it continued. However, as soon as the scorpion showed its head, it was greeted by Xiaoxia's violent attack. The scorpion lost its ability to fight, and Charizard won. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 405. The battle was a long one, but the battle was over. 3 consecutive Pokémon of Shingo lost their ability to fight, and the battle between Wutong and Shingo entered the halftime break. Wutong took back Xiaoxia and walked to the side of his friends and relatives. Seeing Wutong coming, Shinji and the other two seemed to be uninterested. My dear friend, your new scarf looks good. Pink is the romance of men. Wutong teased directly, after walking near Shinji and the other two. TSK. Shinji smacked his lips unhappily and glared at Wutong. At this time, what Shinji was wrapped around his neck was not a scarf, but a Sunny V. Shinji felt that he had believed Wutong's evil and said those words to the Sunny V during the battle. So what's wrong with you guys? Is my battle so boring? Wutong asked. You guys haven't been serious except for the B-drill at the beginning. Shinji asked. Needless to say, how could this guy not be prepared for the possibility of the water field? Xiaoming said as a matter of course. And the guy on the opposite side is really not your opponent. Xiaomai also said. The gap between Wutong and Shingo is already visible to the naked eye. It can be said that as long as Wutong does not suddenly get sick or is punished by God, there is no possibility of losing. I say, what do you guys think of me? I respect every opponent, but I do have a Pokémon registered specifically for fighting in the water field. Wutong shrugged and said, look, you guys really didn't use your full strength. X3 Shinji and the other 3 said at the same time. So, this is called tactics. Tactics. Do you understand? And I'm very optimistic about Shingo. If he doesn't go astray, his potential is also very large. Wutong said helplessly. You guys are not going to cheat me again, are you? X3 Shinji and the other 2 directly expressed their contempt for Wutong. Wutong was speechless. What happened? Is his credibility solo in front of these brothers? The halftime break was over soon, and Wutong and Shingo returned to the field. After the halftime break, Shingo seemed to have figured something out, and his expression became very relaxed. Xiaoxia, go. Wutong directly sent Xiaoxia to the field. The dark dragon hovered over the water field again. Looking at Xiaoxia in the air, Shingo looked relaxed. Sure enough, his current data reserves were still too little. At least for these Pokémon of Wutong, the information he investigated was too old. He had been fighting until now by analyzing the opponent's weaknesses. As a result, the information of the biggest enemy was incomplete, which really made people feel complicated. I'm still a long way from that. Ache, please. Shingo laughed at himself and threw his Pokéball. Oh. Blood-colored swords appeared around Xiaoxia and then pierced Xiaoxia's body one after another, and Xiaoxia's ability was instantly improved. I didn't think I could hide it. Houndoom. Flame Fang. Shingo also commanded. Woof. Houndoom burst into flames, and under the dual blessing of Long Howl and Fire, the flames in Houndoom's mouth directly covered its entire head. Houndoom, which had turned into a fire-headed dog, rushed directly towards Xiaoxia. Houndoom jumped up in the middle of the way, opened its mouth and bit Xiaoxia. Pull it back, Irontail. Wutong commanded. Raw Xiaoxia's tail covered with metal color swung directly on Houndoom's head. However, the imagined scene of Houndoom being whipped away did not appear. Houndoom actually bit Xiaoxia's tail. The whole dog was hanging on Xiaoxia's tail. Bite it to pieces. Shingo commanded decisively. Hearing the command, Houndoom continued to bite hard, biting Xiaoxia's tail tightly, with no intention of letting go. At this time, Houndoom deeply demonstrated what a dogskin plaster is. Xiaoxia, Dragon Dive. Wutong commanded with a frown, and Shingo's fighting style made him a little uneasy. Xiaoxia took Houndoom directly into the air, and then turned around, and rushed towards the water field. When approaching the ground, Xiaoxia braked suddenly, and swung his tail to hit Houndoom to the ground. However, Houndoom seemed to be fierce and still did not let go. Houndoom, strange strength. Shingo commanded in a cold voice. A red light appeared on Houndoom, and then under Xiaoxia's surprised eyes, Houndoom dragged Xiaoxia into the water. Xiaoxia struggled hard, leaving scratches on the bridge, but still couldn't escape the entanglement of the evil ghost. Both Pokémon fell into the water. You are a little crazy now, Wutong said helplessly. After all, I don't want to be shut out, and my Pokémon are also very eager to win. Shingo responded with a smile. After Shingo finished speaking, Xiaoxia and Houndoom both floated to the surface of the water, and both Pokémon lost their combat ability at the same time. Chapter 406. The battle was over, but the battle was over. Wutong calmly took back Xiaoxia. It was an unexpected way to reduce the number of people, but Wutong also saw Shingo's determination. Fossil Pterosaur, go. Wutong sent out the Fossil Pterosaur again. Roar. The reappearing Fossil Pterosaur roared. The battle with the thorn shell just now made it very unhappy. It was not a battle at all. Nelly, please. Shingo also exchanged his Pokémon. Lucky a common Pokémon in the Pokémon Center appeared. Seeing the Pokémon sent by Shingo, Wutong raised his eyebrows. Is it a Jigglypuff? The Pokémon Chandy is very magical. It obviously does not have the characteristics of a strongman, but it is incredibly strong. Is it because it has evolved a powerful body to suppress those disobedient patients? I wonder what Shingo's Chandy will be like. Fossil Pterosaur, Dragon Dance. Wutong commanded at the beginning of the daily buff. Raw the Fossil Pterosaur began to dance in the air, and its attack and speed were improved. Nelly, get smaller. Shingo also commanded. Lucky Chandy's body emitted a purple-pink light, and began to shrink at a speed visible to the naked eye. Soon, Chandy shrank to the size of a football. Fossil Pterosaur, Sharp Stone Attack. Wutong commanded. As a trainer, his intuition told him that Shingo must be up to something bad. If he let the Fossil Pterosaur get close to him, he would definitely fall into the trap. Roar. The Fossil Pterosaur flapped its wings, and sharp stones appeared around the Fossil Pterosaur, and then shot down neatly. The shrunken Jigglypuff became very flexible, deftly shuttling back and forth between the sharp rocks. Nelly, blast the egg. Shingo commanded. Lucky Jigglypuff took out the egg from the pocket in his abdomen, and threw it hard at the Fossil Pterosaur. The egg exploded directly when it approached the Fossil Pterosaur. The Fossil Pterosaur shook left and right twice to stabilize its body, and then shot out a large piece of sharp rocks again. However, under the second sharp stone attack, the Fossil Pterosaur still did not cause much damage to Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff, with its thick skin and flesh, became difficult to hit by the Fossil Pterosaur's attack because of its reduced body shape. Even if it was hit by a sharp rock, it only made Jigglypuff pause for a while. Nelly, lay an egg. Shingo commanded. Another egg appeared in Jigglypuff's empty belly bag, and an orange-yellow light appeared on the egg. The light was absorbed by Jigglypuff, allowing Jigglypuff's body to recover. TSK, you're playing a disgusting trick, aren't you? Fossil Pterosaur, high altitude continuous dragon dance. Wutong commanded. The fossil pterosaur heard the command and continued to rise, using the dragon dance continuously in the air. Nelly, blast the eggs to interfere with it. Shingo said. Lucky Jigglypuff directly transformed into Doraemon, and its belly bag seemed to have become a 4-dimensional pocket, and kept taking out eggs. One egg after another was thrown at the fossil pterosaur by Jigglypuff. Even though the fossil pterosaur was already at a very high position, Jigglypuff still relied on its terrible strange power to throw the eggs next to the fossil pterosaur. A series of explosions occurred, but the fossil pterosaur in the center of the explosion didn't care and danced the dragon dance on its own under a burst of explosions. Under the continuous dragon dance, the fossil pterosaur's attack and speed were all pulled to the limit. Fossil pterosaur, the counterattack has begun. Slam. Wutong commanded. Roar. The fossil pterosaur responded and dived down and hit the egg. The speed of the fossil pterosaur at this time was not something that the egg could avoid. The smaller egg was directly knocked away by the fossil pterosaur. Finally down. Nelly, lay eggs. Shadow clones. Shingo commanded. The knocked away egg stood up and a new egg appeared in the belly bag on its belly. After a burst of orange light, the injury of the egg was recovered again. After recovering from the injury, the body of the egg flashed and split into more than 10 shadows, occupying various footholds in the water field. Fossil pterosaur, primitive power. Wutong commanded. Nelly, electromagnetic waves, highly toxic. Shingo also continued to command. Roar. A brown energy halo appeared next to the fossil pterosaur and then spread to the surroundings. One by one, the clones of the egg were shattered and disappeared. At the same time, under Shingo's command, Jigglypuff rushed towards the fossil pterosaur with his group of clones without hesitation. With a wave of his hand, a series of tiny electric currents shot onto the fossil pterosaur, and then the egg, which had turned purple at some point, was smashed onto the fossil pterosaur. The original power of the fossil pterosaur also successfully hit, and Jigglypuff was knocked away again. At this time, purple spots appeared on the fossil pterosaur that was hit by Jigglypuff's quality combo. At the same time, a trace of electric current flashed across the fossil pterosaur from time to time. Nelly, lay eggs. Shingo commanded again. Jigglypuff, who had turned into an egg-laying maniac, had his damage restored again, but seeing Jigglypuff panting, relying on skills to recover injuries had side effects on Jigglypuff. There was no way. There was still a gap between the game and reality, and it was impossible to rely on a large amount of medicine to grind the king to death. It's really not easy. Seeing the situation on the field, Xiaoming said with relief. Yeah, Wutong will also have a day when he is disgusted. Xiaomei nodded and said. How good are you two? Birds of a feather. Shinji said coldly. Aren't you the same? X2 Xiaoming and Xiaomei said at the same time. As the three people who were most influenced by Wutong, although the three still maintained their own fighting style, they could integrate dirty into their tactics at any time, as long as they wanted. There is no way. After all, you can not use some skills, but you can not know them. After all, only by knowing them can you better crack them. At this time, the three were not worried about Wutong's situation at all. Up to now, the only Pokémon that Wutong really lost its combat ability was Synnoh, and Shingo only had one combat power left except for the now greatly consumed Jihu egg. If Wutong was overturned in this situation, the three of them would want to report Wutong for match fixing. What's more, Shingo did have a clear gap in strength with Wutong. Not bad, but it's still not enough. Fossil Pterosaur, enhanced mode, Flame Fang, bite it. Wutong commanded. Roar. The fossil pterosaur roared. A rock mask covered its face, and a rock spike appeared on its back. The electric current hindered the movement of the fossil pterosaur, and the toxins kept corroding the body of the fossil pterosaur. However, this could not stop the will of this ancient predator to fight. Even if the body became slow because of the electric current, the effect of the dragon dance had already pulled its speed to a very high level. At most, it was not as flexible as before, but even so, its attack was not something that Jigglypuff could dodge. The flame burned in the mouth of the fossil pterosaur. The fossil pterosaur rushed directly to Jigglypuff, and the flame fang appeared out of thin air and bit Jigglypuff. This was not over yet. After the flame fang bit Jigglypuff, the fossil pterosaur also bit Jigglypuff fiercely. Shingo wanted to let Jigglypuff continue to delay by laying eggs, but the attack of the fossil pterosaur was beyond his imagination. Jigglypuff lost consciousness and fell down. Because he lost consciousness, the shrinking effect of Jigglypuff was also lifted, and he turned back into the original big pink egg. And there was a row of clearly visible bite marks on the body of this big pink egg. Jigglypuff lost the ability to fight, and the fossil pterosaur won. The referee raised the flag and announced, Chapter 407. After the victory, the pterosaur flew back into the sky. The electric current and poison on its body made it look very ferocious. Thank you for your hard work, Nelly. Come back. Shingo took back his lucky egg after taking a look at the pterosaur. Wutong looked at the excited state of the pterosaur and decided to let it continue to fight. As long as Shingo's last Pokémon is not a water type, there will be no problem. This big gap makes me want to cry a little bit. Go, Bill. Shingo threw the Pokéball and said, Ringer. A circle bear was summoned to the field. This is Shingo's last Pokémon. Fossil pterosaur, slam. Wutong commanded. Roar. The fossil pterosaur first leaned back, then shot at the circle bear like a sharp arrow. Bill, strange strength, arm hammer. Shingo shouted. Ring. A red light appeared on the circle bear's body, and the muscles of his arms bulged and swung forward vigorously. A dull collision sound appeared, and the fossil pterosaur and the circle bear collided with each other. The circle bear's arms pressed down the wings of the fossil pterosaur. If you look closely, you can see that the circle bear's arms are trembling slightly. Even if two skills are used at the same time, the circle bear still cannot perfectly resist the collision of the fossil pterosaur. Fossil pterosaur, lightning teeth, bite it to pieces. Wutong commanded. Roar. The fossil pterosaur, with the rock mask still covering its face, opened its mouth wide and bit the circle bear's head. The sharp teeth formed by the rock mask directly swallowed the circle bear's entire head, and at the same time, lightning burst out, and the circle bear had a lightning face care. Bill, arm hammer. Shingo still did not give up the command. The bear with its head button hit the head of the pterosaur with its fist, but it bit harder in return. The bear felt that its head was about to be separated from its neck. The last blow, dragon breath. Wutong said. The blue-purple breath was sprayed out. After the lightning care, the bear experienced the dragon breath face washing service. After a whole set of services, the bear lost its fighting ability. Is it over? Shingo said with a wry smile as he looked at the bear sliding down from the mouth of the pterosaur. The bear lost its fighting ability. The winner is Wutong. The referee raised the flag and announced loudly. In the evening, in the novice village of Baiyin Town, Baiyin Mountain, Wutong and his 4 companions walked leisurely in the contestant village. Wutong and Xiaoming looked relaxed. After all, after today's battle, Wutong and Xiaoming had successfully advanced to the next round of the decisive tournament. Although the two are each other's opponents in the next round, it can't affect their leisurely mood at this time. In contrast, Shinji and Xiaomeo's mood is not so beautiful. As good brothers, how could Wutong and Xiaoming not put some pressure on Shinji and Xiaomeo at this time? It's great to be able to rest for 2 consecutive days, Wutong said first. Yeah, some guys have to work hard. Don't let them take a long vacation after tomorrow. That would be interesting. Xiaoming followed. What should I do? Gloomy monster. These 2 guys are pretending. Xiaomeo said unhappily. Don't pay attention to them, Playboy. The more you pay attention to these 2 guys, the happier they will be. Shinji replied coldly. Hey, you are so cool, you can even ignore your friends. Wutong instantly turned into a gangster, put his arm around Shinji's shoulders, and said in a gangster manner. That's right, this is really hurtful to us. What are you going to do? Ah. Xiaoming also said, holding Xiaomeo's shoulders in the same way as Wutong. TSK. X2 Shinji and Xiaomeo, who were surrounded by two hooligans, made unhappy tongue-tied sounds, and then looked at the guy who was holding their shoulders with a cold look. Sorry, we are too complacent. X2 feeling the cold aura of Shinji and Xiaomao, Wutong and Xiaoming immediately calmed down. At this time, a bell rang, and Wutong frowned instantly. It shouldn't be, it's impossible to assign him a task at this time. Seeing Wutong's appearance, the three people who knew that Wutong was working in disguise also instantly understood the source of the bell. Okay, it's almost time. If we don't find a place quickly, we will have to wait in line for a long time to have dinner. Xiaoming stretched and said, let's go. Today is still let's eat at the restaurant we went to 2 days ago. Xiaomao said, Playboy, don't you have to accompany your girlfriends today? Shinji asked coldly. Hey, don't bring up that. I finally calmed them down and had free time today. Xiaomao responded irritably. Looking at the three people who left noisily, Wutong walked out of the contestant village. Finding a deserted place, Wutong took out the Pokémon Investigator's special communicator. The number displayed on it was a number Wutong had never seen before. Wutong was a little surprised. He pinched his throat to prepare for a while and then connected the call. This is Xianatong. Please give instructions. Wutong said in a different voice. Oh my, Xianatong's voice is really cute. I want to hold Xianatong in my arms. A familiar voice came from the communicator. Kona, cough, is it Sister Kona? The strong survival instinct made Wutong change his words in time. That's right, but brother Wutong, I seem to have heard some words that shouldn't appear just now. I must have heard it wrong. Hey, did I hear it wrong? Kona's gentle and intellectual voice came from the communicator. However, this voice made Wutong tremble all over. Really? It must be Sister Kona who heard it wrong. Oh, is that so? Forget it. I will go to the contestant village in Baiyang town later. Remember to spare some time for me. I have something to ask you. Oh, by the way, call your friends too, just in time for them to come and help. Kona said. Yes, I know. Although I don't know what Kona wants to do, it shouldn't be dangerous to let Shinji and the others participate, and there is no need to attack as Xianatong. Wutong put away the communicator and returned to the contestant village. I remember where we are going to eat. Wutong thought for a while and began to look for Shinji and the other two. Because of Kona's invitation, the night tea party of Wutong and the other four could not be held normally, but Shinji and the other three gladly accepted Kona's sudden invitation. After all, for the people in this world, the champions and the like always have special magic. When they arrived at the Pokémon Center in the players' village, Wutong and the other four met Kona in Joai's lounge. Next to Kona was an acquaintance of Wutong, who was Liubo, an old friend of his grandparents. Sister Kona, you are too late. Grandpa Gu Liu is here too. Long time no see. Are you here to watch my game? Wutong walked over happily after seeing Liubo and asked. King Kona, Liubo, long time no see. X2 unlike Wutong's familiarity, Xiaomao and Shinji greeted politely. Hello, King Kona, I'm Xiaoming. Liubo, thank you very much for your teaching last time. Xiaoming also said stiffly. There is no way, no matter how much good brothers laugh and joke around, they will pretend to be good kids when they meet their good brother's family. Long time no see, Xianatong, you played very well in the previous games. Come on, I have a gift for you after the silver conference. You will definitely like it. You guys are not bad. Keep up the good work. Liubo said kindly to Wutong. I'm already very fast, okay? Do you think everyone has the Dragonite of that cloaked bastard? He's so fast when he's working. Who else will work if he doesn't work hard? Kona refuted while not forgetting to blacken Adu. Yes, then Sister Kona, what exactly do you want to talk to me about? I'm still participating in the silver conference now, and it's hard for me to help you with things that take a long time. Wutong shrugged and said. Don't worry, this matter can be dealt with after the silver conference is over. Let me ask first, your friends should all know it, right? Kona asked. They all know, it's okay. Wutong sighed and said. That's good. You know the situation of the alliance. Now not only the investigators are short of manpower, but also the prosecutors are short of manpower. The regular gym assessment in Kanto has come recently, but I really can't spare any manpower to conduct the gym assessment. You also know the situation of the Kanto gym. This assessment will also be very important, so there is no way. I can only ask Adu to borrow someone, Kona said sadly, holding his forehead. The dark circles behind the glasses also showed Kona's recent busyness. So I'm the one who was lent to you by Adu, right? Wutong said helplessly. That's right, so I want to ask you to go to the gyms in Kanto as a temporary prosecutor after the Silver Conference, Kona said. Shinji and the other two listened obediently on the side. Although they had no contact with them yet, they were still very busy. What relationship? But they also vaguely knew the purpose of being called. Okay, so they also want to go with me to assess the gyms? Wutong asked. Yes, there are actually many gyms in the Kanto area, but some gyms have not been operating normally for a long time, so this time you need to count the gyms that are not operating normally, and the gyms that are unqualified, and the Alliance will take measures against them, Kona said. So, what about the rewards? Is there a salary? Wutong asked the most practical question. Don't worry, the Alliance will not let you work for nothing, so do you want to accept it? Kona asked. The four Wutong looked at each other and said at the same time, of course, we accept it. Chapter 408. After accepting Kona's commission, Kona seemed very happy. After all, the league was really short of people, and the four little guys in front of him were all trainers with good potential. Let's talk about his background. Wutong is the grandson of the top breeders Aquan and Xiaozhi, an active Pokémon investigator, and the apprentice of Ziba. Xiaomei is the grandson of Professor Oak, and Shinji's brother Lisi runs a breeding house in the Sinnoh region, and has a pure background. Xiaoming is really an ordinary grassroots, but he was recognized by the old man Hu in Chengdu, and became his close disciple. So the four-member group of Wutong can be trusted, not to mention Wutong and Xiaomei, two guys with good roots. And the above is not the point. The point is that with the help of these four little guys, Kona can have more time to slack off, and slacking off is the happiest thing. So Kona, who was in a good mood, generously gave guidance to Wutong and others, explaining some of his own experiences in the cultivation of ice-type Pokémon. Liubo has now untied his knot, and in a non-combat state, he is like a kind grandfather next door, so he also gives some pointers from time to time. Two Ice-type King level trainers gave Wutong and the other four special guidance on Ice-type Pokémon together. Even Wutong, who didn't have an Ice-type Pokémon, benefited a lot. Unfortunately, time passed quickly, and Xiaomei and Shinji, who had a game the next day, should go back to rest. Although Wutong and Xiaoming had 2 days of rest, they still had to cheer for Shinji and Xiaomei, so the two of them were also ready to go back to rest together. But before leaving, Xiaoming seemed to remember something and asked Kona, King Kona, if we want to act with Wutong, don't we also need to? Xiaoming gestured a few times on himself. Kona instantly understood what Xiaoming meant. Don't worry, it's not necessary. You can go as you are. Of course, if you have a hobby in this area, you can go in disguise. No need, Wutong is enough for this kind of black history, right? Xiaoming said and turned to Xiaomao and Shinji. It's definitely best not to have it. Although it's understandable, the less black history, the better. Xiaomao agreed. Shinji's face became more gloomy, and he didn't say anything. Xiaomao and Xiaoming obviously felt something was wrong, and then looked at Shinji together. Gloomy monster, you don't? Xiaomao put his arm on Shinji's shoulder and asked curiously. What do you feel? Are you uncomfortable? Do you feel socially dead? Xiaoming also came up and asked curiously. Shinji took a deep breath, and then he made his move. Shinji said goodbye to Liubo and Kona, and then grabbed Xiaoming and Xiaomao by the collar and dragged them away while giving Wutong a cold look. I know, you two, let's talk about this when we get back. Grandpa Gu Liu, Sister Kona, we are going back first. Bai Wutong said hello to Liubo and Kona and followed. It's great to be young, but it's a pity that I didn't have such good friends at that time. Kona said as she watched the four people leave. These four kids are really good, and they remind me of the time when I was young with Zuching and the others. Liubo said with a smile on his face. The first game of the second day of the decisive tournament was the battle between Xiaomao and Yu. And Xiaomao's exclusive girlfriend cheerleading team would certainly not be absent in Xiaomao's game. 6 beautiful girls with different styles wore uniform team uniforms and cheered for Xiaomao. What surprised Wutong was that they were not the only 3 people watching the game in the friends and family seats. Xiaozhi, Xiaoxia and Xiaogang also came to cheer for Xiaomao. Yu, who successfully defeated Xiaozhi and advanced to the top 4 in the original plot, also showed enough resilience and fighting power after facing the super enhanced Xiaomao. But he still couldn't maintain his original ranking. Yu's ace flame chicken also fell in front of Xiaomao's Blastoise. Although there were some twists and turns, Xiaomao successfully advanced to the top 4, and the pressure came to Shinji. But for Shinji, this little pressure didn't even change his expression, and he successfully won the game and entered the top 4. So far, the top 4 places in the Silver Conference have been determined, and the 4-person team of Wutong, Xiaomao, Shinji, and Xiaoming directly took the top 4. After a day's rest, the first match of the semi-finals, Wutong vs. Xiaoming, is about to begin. Before the players entered the venue, Wutong and Xiaoming stood in front of the player channel, looking at the stadium so close. They looked calm, but the flames of war were burning in their eyes. "I say, boss, you shouldn't hide your strength, right?" Xiaoming suddenly asked. "I'm an honest man. I won't hide anything at all," Wutong replied. "TSK, remember not to hold back, or I'll be very disappointed," Xiaoming said and walked towards the stadium first. "Really, I always go all out for my brothers." Wutong shook his head and followed. "Good morning, everyone. The exciting semi-finals are about to begin. The first match of the semi-finals will be between Wutong and Xiaoming. The 2 players have brought us many exciting games since the opening of the Silver Conference. Let us look forward to what kind of exciting battles they will bring us today. Now, please enter the venue," the host said passionately. After the host's words fell, Wutong and Xiaoming walked into the arena from the player channel. The 2 walked to their respective positions familiarly and then looked at each other at the same time. The 2 had been looking forward to this moment for a long time. No, it should be said that all 4 Wutongs were looking forward to it. Maybe for the 4 Wutongs, it is more important to defeat the other 3 brothers in the Silver Conference than to win the Silver Conference Championship. Rivals and brothers have never been words that cannot coexist, let alone the rival group composed of 4 Wutongs. According to the process of the game, the venue was determined first. It was a very ordinary grass venue, but it was also suitable for most Pokémon to play. Then the order of first attack was decided. Xiaoming, who was on the green side, got the right to attack first. "Arbok, please." Xiaoming sent out his Pokémon first. Xiaoming chose one of his veterans, Arbok, who was in the same period as the Ace Sandslash, as his first Pokémon. Cabo with a low cry, an Arbok with scars of both old and new, 2 times larger than the average Arbok, appeared on the field. With its body raised high and its tail slightly swinging left and right, Xiaoming's Arbok stared at Wutong, as if urging him to do something. "Crowhead, the other side is looking for you." Wutong casually threw the Pokeball in his hand and said. Gah! After a sharp and piercing cry, Wutong's Crowhead appeared in the sky. After seeing that his opponent was Arbok, Crowhead landed on the grass, one wing folded to the side, and the other wing flexibly flipped, drew a graceful arc, and finally stopped on the chest. Crowhead saluted Arbok like a gentleman. Cabo seeing the appearance of Crowhead, Arbok shouted disdainfully. As 2 Pokémon who often serve as opponents in daily combat training, they have a full understanding of each other. As expected by Arbok, Crow made an exaggerated face after a gentleman's salute, and then shouted at Arbok. Sure enough, this noisy guy is still annoying even in such a formal occasion. After finishing the taunt, Crow flew back into the sky and prepared for the battle. Seeing that Wutong and Xiaoming both called out their Pokémon, the referee raised the flag in his hand and waved it vigorously. Both players are ready. The game begins. Chapter 409. The game was played, but the opponent was still alive. After the referee announced the start of the game, Xiaoming, who had the right to attack first, started to command directly. Arbok, charge up. Xiaoming commanded. Kaboo. Arbok screamed and opened his mouth nearly 180 degrees, and a strong suction force appeared from Arbok's mouth. Many energy particles appeared out of thin air in the air, and were sucked into Arbok's body. Arbok's body swelled and expanded again, and his grey purple skin was glowing with a faint luster. Crow leader, downwind, self-suggestion. Wutong also commanded. The airflow around Crowhead became faster, and then wrapped around Crowhead's body. At the same time, Crowhead's eyes flashed as he stared at Arbok, and a faint luster appeared on Crowhead's feathers. Arbok, keep charging. Xiaoming continued to command Arbok to charge, as if he didn't see Wutong and Crowhead. Crowhead, bluff. Wutong certainly couldn't let Xiaoming continue to strengthen himself in front of him, so he directly commanded Crowhead to interfere with Arbok. Crowhead made a harsh cry at Arbok, and at the same time, twisted his body in the air to try to attract Arbok's attention. However, Arbok closed his eyes and turned a blind eye to Crowhead's bluff. Although he didn't watch Crowhead's performance, the bluff still slightly affected Arbok, causing its charging to lag for a while. Although the Arbok heard the command and had a lag in the charging process due to the interference of the Crowhead, the Arbok still continued to absorb energy and its body expanded further, but the expansion was far less effective than the first charging. Wutong was not surprised at all that Arbok ignored the bluff of the Crowhead. After all, it was not the first time that Wutong fought with Xiaoming's Arbok. When the Crowhead was fighting with Arbok, those quality attacks had a certain impact on Arbok, but the effect was very limited, which also aroused the Crowhead's competitive mentality, so he always wanted to provoke Arbok. However, Arbok has always been in a state of disdain for the provocation of the Crowhead, and did not care at all. God knows what Arbok experienced when traveling with Xiaoming. Arbok's mentality has become like an old monk, and he is unmoved by most things. Of course, Wutong would not be so curious if it was just a change in mentality. The more important thing is that Xiaoming's Arbok is now a vegetarian. Vegetarian? Who wouldn't be curious about this kind of thing? So when Xiaoming asked Arbok to strengthen himself on the spot, Wutong didn't expect Crowhead's bluffing to achieve what he wanted. Of course, this was definitely not in vain, and all of this was in Wutong's plan. Crowhead, flatter, self-suggestion. Wutong continued to command. After hearing the command, Crowhead began to yell at Arbok, and his wings flapped from time to time, as if he was applauding. And Arbok still looked like he didn't want to pay attention to Crowhead. Arbok charged twice in a row. Normally, the limit of charging should be 3 times, but Arbok, who had completed 3 charges, did not stop, and continued to charge. Is it almost done? Crowhead, give me another self-suggestion. Wutong commanded. Crowhead's eyes flashed with brilliance again, and Crowhead directly copied Arbok's strengthening buff, and added it to himself. Arbok stopped after charging 5 times, and at this time, Arbok's size had reached a terrifying level. Have you ever seen an Arbok as big as Onyx? It's amazing. Xiaoming's Arbok actually charged 5 times in a row. And this size of Arbok is definitely the largest I've ever seen. The host said in surprise. The principle of charging is to store energy in the body and then use it at the right time. Generally, Pokémon will reach its limit after charging 3 times. But Arbok is a snake. What is the biggest feature of a snake? That is the ductility of its body. It can swallow things that are much thicker than itself. In this case, why can't you let your Arbok store more energy by expanding its body? And Arbok, the current state of the bow monster, is the result of Xiaoming and Arbok's efforts. Arbok, prepare to attack. Big snake stare. Xiaoming commanded. Cabo. Arbok heard Xiaoming's command and opened his eyes suddenly. Red and blue light twinkled in Arbok's eyes. The Crowhead in the air felt a chill, and the instinct of the body made it fly away directly, but wherever the eyes went, the Crowhead inevitably felt a soreness. Crowhead, punishment. After Arbok's strengthening was over, Wutong was also ready. Don't you like strengthening and ignore the quality attack of the Crowhead? Then as you wish, let you strengthen to the full level. But your strengthening is also my strengthening, and the more you strengthen, the more painful it will be. Come on, let's see who can hold on longer. A layer of dark purple light appeared on the edge of the Crowhead's wings, as if a layer of blades was installed. Although Crowhead likes to perform quality combos, Crowhead's excellence is never in quality, but in its extraordinary speed. Crowhead, who was preparing to attack, disappeared instantly, and dark purple light passed through Arbok. Arbok felt a sharp pain, but it was just pain, not enough to make Arbok lose its fighting ability. Without any hesitation, Crowhead swung its tail and wrapped around Crowhead. However, Crowhead's speed was far beyond Arbok's ability to catch, and dark purple energy passed through Arbok's body one after another. At this time, Arbok was completely suppressed, but Xiaoming did not panic, as it was just the beginning. Chapter 410. The weather was very bad, but the weather was very bad. In the grass field of the Silver Stadium, Arbok stood in the center of the field, swinging his tail back and forth to catch the flying Crowhead. However, Crowhead's flash power was twice as fast, and with the full tailwind at the beginning, Arbok could only barely keep up with Crowhead with his eyes and brain. For this passive situation, Arbok looked like he had long been accustomed to it, constantly swinging his tail back and forth, trying to catch Crowhead while protecting himself. Arbok, poisonous. Xiaoming commanded. Kaboo. Arbok's poisonous use is magical. Arbok's whole body secretes a layer of purple venom, which makes Arbok like wearing a layer of venom armor. After Arbok was covered with venom, Crowhead also stopped attacking. There was no way. In Arbok's current state, the more he hit it, the faster it would be poisoned. Crowhead, roar loudly. Wutong commanded without any hesitation. Ga, ga ga, ga. Crowhead flew in the air, yelling and roaring at Arbok, and a black sound wave shot at Arbok. Arbok, piercing sound. Xiaoming commanded at the same time. Kaboo. Arbok also made a piercing noise. The sound waves generated by Crowhead's loud roar became distorted and unstable under the effect of the piercing sound, and became very weak when they reached Arbok. The remaining weak sound waves were also dispersed by Arbok's tail wind. Wutong continued to command without stopping. Crowhead flapped his wings, and a violent airflow swept towards Arbok. Big snake stare. Xiaoming commanded decisively. Cabo. Arbok ignored the airflow and raised his body to stare at Crowhead. The airflow rolled on Crowhead, and Crowhead was hit directly by Arbok's big snake stare. Wutong and Xiaoming's series of actions looked very smooth, as if they had discussed it in advance. Because they fought too many times during training, some relatively fixed opponents were really familiar. As soon as the opponent prepared to act, they already knew how to deal with it. Usually at this time, the winner depends on who makes a mistake first, or who can come up with a brand new move to catch the opponent off guard. Now, the two finally met in the Silver Conference. They were definitely not fight by luck. They both had a lot of tricks up their sleeves, and were waiting for the right time to use them. Now that Wutong's Crowhead was hit by Arbok's snake, Xiaoming felt that his chance had come. Arbok, eject, headbutt. Xiaoming commanded. Cap. Arbok curled up, then ejected like a spring, hitting the Crowhead in the air with his head. As the last disciple of Hua Lauren, Xiaoming has mastered many excellent herbal formulas and created many herbs according to his own ideas. And Arbok is Xiaoming's perfect work, of course. This is also because Arbok is a poison type Pokémon with a high resistance to poison. And Arbok himself is willing to participate in the experiment of herbs, which has created Arbok's thick skin, which is far beyond the size of ordinary Arboks, and the tough muscles under the skin. Facing the catapulted Arbok, Crowhead flapped his wings to dodge, but the price of the wind hitting him just now was that Arbok's big snake hit him with a glare. Crowhead, who was full of numbness, inevitably slowed down his movements. It was this one shot that caused Crowhead to be hit directly by Arbok. Arbok did not waste the opportunity and twisted his body to wrap Crowhead up. A purple meatball with two heads fell from the sky and hit the grass. And because Arbok was covered with a layer of poison, Crowhead's body began to be corroded by the toxin. Finally caught. Arbok. Lightning Fang. Xiaoming commanded happily. Cabo. Arbok opened his mouth wide. Lightning wrapped around the snake's fangs and then bit Crowhead's body. Yes, you finally caught it. Crowhead strong mind. Wutong also shouted. Gap. Blue light flashed in the eyes of the crow leader. A strong telekinesis burst out from the crow leader's body. The range reached a terrifying 5 centimeters. That's right, this is the effective range of the attack of Crowhead's mental power, within 5 centimeters around Crowhead. This is the ultimate move that Wutong prepared for Crowhead against Arbok. Although Wutong knows that each Pokémon has different adaptability and learning talents for different skills, but Wutong really didn't expect that Crowhead would not have such a talent in mental power. Fortunately, Wutong and Xiaoming know each other very well, so this 5 centimeter mental power still successfully achieved the purpose of ultimate move. Lightning and telekinesis burst out on the purple two-headed meatball at the same time. Spray. Xiaoming did not have time to be surprised and decisively commanded. Peck. Wutong also did not stop and continued to let Crowhead launch the attack. Arbok bit Crowhead and sprayed out the accumulated energy in one breath. Crowhead also pecked Arbok's body. The two Pokémon were directly blown to both sides by the energy wave sprayed out. The next second, the two Pokémon fell to the ground at the same time. Chapter 411. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Wutong and Xiaoming did not express much about the two Pokémon dying together, and they quickly exchanged Pokémon. Little Turtle, I leave it to you. Go, Infernape. Wutong and Xiaoming exchanged Pokémon at the same time. Kami. Little Turtle appeared in the grass field, stretched his claws into the shell, took out a pair of sunglasses, and put them on his face. Baka. Xiaoming's squinting Infernape also appeared on the field, staring at Little Turtle with narrow squinting eyes, and a flame spurted out of his mouth as a greeting. Seeing the Pokémon sent by the other party, Wutong and Xiaoming had completely different expressions. Wutong had a smile on his face, as if he had guessed it right. Xiaoming, on the other hand, had a sour face and looked unlucky. You must be cheating, right? You can guess it right every time. Xiaoming said unhappily. Every time he and Wutong exchanged Pokémon at the same time, Xiaoming was always the one whose attributes were restrained. Even if the remaining Pokémon of both sides did not have any attribute restraint, Xiaoming's Pokémon was also the one whose fighting style was suppressed. Luck is also part of strength. It seems that your strength is still not good enough. Little Turtle, clap your hands and attack. Wutong responded and then gave the command directly. Kami. Little Turtle waved his palm in the air, and a yellow energy palm appeared next to the head of Infernape, and slapped Infernape on the face. Baka. The place where Infernape was hit became visibly red and swollen. Suddenly, Infernape, who was slapped, became angry. His narrow eyes widened, and flames spurted out from his back. He stared at Little Turtle with anger. Kami the Little Turtle with sunglasses raised his middle claw to the Fire Beast with a provocative look. Fire Beast, burn your anger, Spitfire. Xiaoming knew that the Little Turtle had no chance of avoiding this slap, so he decisively used it to command. Baka. The flames of lava-like spurted out from the back of the Fire Beast. The Fire Beast turned into an erupting volcano, and the target of the flames was the Little Turtle. Water Cannon. Wutong also commanded. Kami. The barrels on the back of the Little Turtle aimed, and then fired neatly, and a thick water column shot out. The water column collided with the lava flame, producing a large amount of white steam that filled the whole field. Little Turtle, mirror reflection mirror array, water wave. The white mist blocked Wutong's sight, but did not let him stop commanding, because the skills that the Little Turtle wanted to use did not require seeing the target. Kami. The Little Turtle shouted and raised his claws, and an ice-surfaced round mirror appeared in front of the Little Turtle. However, this is not the end. One after another, the ice round mirrors appeared on the field in a disorderly but seemingly regular pattern. After arranging a large number of ice round mirrors for mirror emission, the Little Turtle shot a wave of water flow at the mirror closest to him. After the wave of water flow was recorded on the ice round mirror, it was directly deflected and refracted in another direction, and there was another ice round mirror in that direction. The same thing happened to the second ice round mirror. The wave of water refracted back and forth in the arranged mirror array, and was finally blocked during one refraction. There is no doubt that it was the Fire Beast that was it. This mirror array was first used in the competitive park. At that time, the Little Turtle could only generate 2 reflective mirrors at the same time. Of course, strictly speaking, the Little Turtle can still generate 2 reflective mirrors now. In addition to the reflection enhancement effect of the first 2 ice round mirrors, the remaining ice round mirrors are all used as refraction tools. Of course, in the future, Xiaoxi will be able to generate more and more reflective mirrors. This mirror array is also a skill full of potential. Now, the increase in the 2 reflective mirrors, plus Xiaoxi's understanding of the wave and the Blastoise Strait, makes Xiaoxi's combination of skills deal extremely high damage. It was not long after the second round of the battle that Infinite's state was mostly destroyed. After Xiaoxi's attack was successful, the white mist on the field gradually dissipated. Infinite, cheer up, charge with flash flame, Xiaoming said, and flicked the whip in his hand, making a loud snap. Backer. The flames on Infinite's back surged again, and then instantly burned all over the body, and then Infinite started running on all fours. Xiaoxi, Iron Wall. Wutong knew that it was not realistic to let the little turtle rely on dodging, so he decisively let the little turtle strengthen its defense first. Kamui, the little turtle's whole body appeared metallic color. The originally gray skin and shell made the little turtle look like an iron turtle under the rendering of the metallic color. However, the fire beast with a blazing body did not attack the little turtle, but ran freely on the grass like a dog that had been locked up at home for a long time and finally had the chance to go out and have fun. Little turtle, water fluctuations. Looking at the happy fire beast, although Wutong had not guessed Xiaoming's idea, it did not prevent Wutong from asking the little turtle to stop it. Kamui, the fluctuating water flow, shot out and pointed directly at the fire beast. Fire beast, a flash of lightning. Xiaoming also commanded decisively. The tail of the fire beast brought a white light, and the speed increased again, directly avoiding the water wave of the turtle. The fire beast began to run around the turtle, as if it was going to stun the turtle by turning in circles. No, you are addicted to demolition, right? Little turtle, water cannon, aim at the grass. Wutong felt that the temperature of the air seemed to be getting higher, and Wutong shouted decisively when he figured it out. It's just that the fire beast was so happy that 9/10 of the grass field was already burning. Relying on the power of the turtle, it was impossible to put out the fire for a while. What is demolition? This is called creating a favorable environment. Now welcome to the fire field. Let's start the second round, Xiaoming said with a bright smile. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 412. The grass field, which had become the fire field, was burning fiercely. Little turtle gave up the idea of putting out the fire. He couldn't put it out. He couldn't put it out at all. The fire beast seemed very comfortable in the flames, looking at little turtle with a provocative look. The meaning was self-evident. If you are good, put your finger up again. I can't burn you to death. Looking at the burning grass field, the whole audience exclaimed. Xiaoming was a surprising player. He dug a big hole in the rock field in the last game. This game directly burned the grass field. It was so interesting. However, some people felt happy and some felt unhappy. The logistics department and maintenance department of the Silver Stadium gathered together with gloomy faces. Put that bastard on my blacklist. That's right, he always adds to our workload. We've been working overtime for so many days. We have to work overtime again today. My hair has been falling out in clumps lately. Just put a sack over your head after the game. Then dig a hole and bury that bastard. Plant a circle of grass around him and let that bastard have a good experience. Bury, 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 burn, burn, burn. At this time, Xiaoming, who was feeling proud on the field, suddenly felt cold all over. Deg, and looked around vigilantly. What's going on? Why did he feel cold all over? Question mark? That must be the resentment of the field. You field killer. Come back, little turtle. Wutong teased Xiaoming and took back the little turtle. He didn't want his little turtle to be roasted alive. It would be bad if it became a roasted turtle. Don't be funny. Where does the resentment of the venue come from? Xiaoming immediately retorted. HMPH, I'll show you the embodiment of the resentment of the venue. Go. Platypus. Wutong threw the Pokeball and shouted, "Buban!" Platypus stood on the field for the first time in a long time. Seeing the flames burning nearby, Platypus excitedly sprayed flames from its two barrel arms. The environment of the entire venue became even hotter. In the blazing grass field of the Silver Stadium, Platypus and Infernape stood opposite each other. As if to prove that their flames were more powerful, the two Pokémon kept stimulating the flames on their bodies. Because of the operation of the two Pokémon, the entire venue became even hotter. Wutong and Xiaoming began to sweat at this time. The scorching field was also a test of the trainer's will. Platypus, stomp again. Wutong, who didn't want to become a roasted villain, decisively commanded. Xiaoming, who also didn't want to be roasted anymore, also decisively commanded. Fire Beast, Flash Charge, Roll. Buban. The duck-billed flame beast stomped on the ground, and a shockwave rushed towards the fire beast. Backer. The fire beast was covered in flames again, and then the fire beast rolled forward and turned into a huge rolling fireball. The superpowered flame wheel appeared, and the huge fireball absorbed the shockwave from the stomping and continued to hit the duck-billed flame beast. Duck-billed flame beast, stomp, earthquake. Wutong commanded calmly. Buban. The duck-billed flame beast stomped on the ground again, and the ground began to vibrate violently, and shockwaves were emitted one after another with the vibration. The fire beast, which turned into a huge rolling fireball, no longer rolled smoothly under the vibration of the ground and the shockwave. At first, the fire beast still hit the duck-billed flame beast with a clear goal. The huge fireball hit the duck-billed flame beast, and the duck-billed flame beast stretched out its arms and tried to block the fire beast. The rolling impact made the duck-billed flame beast feel very uncomfortable, but the fire beast, which was continuously stomped and earthquaked, was obviously at a greater disadvantage. Fire beast, come back to life. Xiaoming commanded loudly. Withstanding the earthquake and stomping was just for this move. A burst of energy burst out from the body of the fire beast, and the duck-billed flame beast was directly blown away by the energy. Fire beast, explosion flame. Xiaoming continued to command without stopping. Backer. The flames on the back of the fire beast burst out, and the power of the whole body gathered in the mouth, and a mouthful of flames spurted out. Duck-billed flame beast, big word explosion. Facing Xiaoming's ultimate fire move, Wutong decisively commanded. Buban. The duck-billed flame beast in midair tried hard to adjust its body shape and spit out a mouthful of big word flames. It was not just a simple big word explosion. The big word flame began to rotate under the control of the duck-billed flame beast and became a flame shield blocking in front of the duck-billed flame beast. The explosive flames of the fire beast hit the flame shield formed by the big explosion flame and fell into a stalemate for a while. This stalemate time allowed the duck-billed flame beast to successfully fall back to the ground, but the fire beast could not let the duck-billed flame beast go like this. The explosion flame did not stop, twisting its head and continuing to shoot at the duck-billed flame beast. The strong flames hit the duck-billed flame beast and lasted for a full half minute. After half a minute, the flames of the fire beast were insufficient, and the body was also hit by the backlash of the explosion flame and fell into stiffness. Under the explosion flame, the duck-billed flame beast also reappeared, and the whole body seemed to have magma-like flames flowing, dripping from the duck-billed flame beast from time to time. There were scars of varying sizes on the duck-billed flame beast. The continuous attacks of the fire beast were very harmful. However, the flash power of the duck-billed flame beast was flame-friendly, and the fire beast's attack did not make the duck-billed flame beast lose its combat ability. Duck-billed Flammerman, give it the last blow. Explosive fist. Wutong commanded. Duck-billed Flammerman approached Infernape step by step, and the flames on its body kept falling down. Xiaoming did not take back Infernape. It had reached its limit. Even if it was taken back by force now, it could not play again. It was better to let it have an excellent curtain call in this round. After a burst of explosions, Infernape lost its ability to fight. Chapter 413. The fire was swaying, and the fire was still burning. In the field, where the flames were swaying, Infernape was lying on the ground with its face up. Its eyes were in circles, as if it was still spinning. Beside Infernape, Duck-billed Flammerman stretched out one claw, and the flames dripped from its body like magma, adding more flames to the burning grass field. Infinite has lost its ability to fight, and Duckbill Flammerman wins. The referee announced with a wave of the flag in his hand. Come back, Infinite. Xiaoming took out the Pokeball and took Infinite back. The gap in hard power is really not so easy to make up. After all, Infinite has only been with Xiaoming for less than a year. As for the old hand-like platypus, who has been following Wutong since the beginning, it is much stronger than Infinite in all aspects. Although this gap will gradually narrow over time for the two Pokémon that are still in a period of rapid growth, the gap between 1 year and 2 years is still not small. Moreover, Platypus is very restrained against Infinite in a sense. After all, facing the flame, Wutong's Platypus has a ridiculously high resistance. Sure enough, the old guy should be dealt with by the old guy. Beedrill, go. Xiaoming shouted while throwing the Pokeball. Buzz Xiaoming's Beedrill appeared on the field, but the burning grass field made it very uncomfortable, so it subconsciously flew a little higher. Hey, what do you mean by old guy? Our platypus is still young and good. It's still a young man. Wutong retorted dissatisfiedly. No matter whether you are a young man or not, Beedrill. Sword dance, high speed movement. Xiaoming commanded decisively. Buzz Beedrill flashed. Its speed increased suddenly, and its needle-like arms thrust back and forth around, as if practicing some strange war dance. Duck-billed flame beast, ghost face. Wutong certainly couldn't let Xiaoming get his way, and directly commanded the duck-billed flame beast to interfere. Bubon. The flames on the duck-billed flame beast were blazing, burning upwards to form a flaming skull ghost face on the top of the duck-billed flame beast's head. The flaming skull ghost face showed a hideous smile to Beedrill. Under the effect of the burning grass field around it, the flaming skull ghost face was as hideous and terrifying as a demon from hell. Beedrill was also frightened by the sudden appearance of the flaming skull ghost face, and its body could not help but pause. Xiaoming saw the situation of Beedrill and waved the whip in his hand, making a whip sound. Good opportunity. Duck-billed flame beast. Spray smoke. Wutong saw that Beedrill's action paused and decisively commanded. Bubon. Flammerman raised its arms, and a scorching column of fire composed of a large number of sparks and black mist was ejected from its two barrel arms. Beedrill resumed its action immediately after a pause, and flew towards Flammerman at high speed, turning left and right. Facing the spurting fire column, Beedrill chose to head straight, but after Flammerman's attack hit Beedrill, Beedrill's figure slowly disappeared. No, that's his substitute. Flammerman. Behind you. Wutong shouted hurriedly, after seeing Beedrill behind Flammerman. Bubon. Flammerman turned its body in a hurry, and it was greeted by a needle flashing with cold light. Buzz swinging again and again, Beedrill's long needle attack speed became faster and faster. Just because it was hit for the first time, more than 10 consecutive attacks also hit Flammerman. Plasm. Flame wheel. Wutong tried to get Papperman to counterattack, but he had to break Beedrill's continuous slashes first. Bubon. Papperman's whole body was on fire, but Beedrill was not afraid, and continued to chop Papperman with its long needles. Papperman endured Beedrill's attack and directly hit Beedrill. Sparks appeared on Beedrill's body, and Beedrill was burned. Beedrill, hold on. Keep slashing. Xiaoming commanded. Beedrill ignored the burns on its body and continued to chop Papperman with its long needles. I won this round. Beedrill. Xiaoming said confidently. Hearing Xiaoming's call, Beedrill's continuous slash speed increased again, and Papperman finally died under Beedrill's long needles. After using the stand, did you get close to the platypus by blocking the flames? Wutong said after taking back the platypus. It seems that Xiaoming is becoming more and more proficient in using the environment. However, Xiaoming's giant bee was really annoying after it slashed continuously. It's annoying. Looking at the giant hornet on the field, Wutong took out a Pokeball. Since we can't let it slash, we can win by bursting. Chapter 414. The fire was burning, and the fire was burning. Wutong threw the Pokeball in his hand, a red light flashed, and a Pokémon appeared on the field. His black feathers faintly glowed under the light of the fire, his eyes were closed, and a narrow green onion blade was held in his arms, faintly emitting the aroma of roasted onions. Wait a minute, the aroma of roasted onions? Question mark? The green onion soldier quickly opened his eyes and found that the green onion in his arms had been burning without knowing when. Gaga. Gaga. The green onion soldier suddenly became very panicked and kept shaking the green onion in his hand and finally extinguished the flames on the green onion. However, before he even had time to feel sorry for the green onion in his arms, Onion Soldier felt a little bit of pain behind his buttocks. Onion Soldier's expression became very nervous, and he quickly pulled out another green onion blade behind his back. Sure enough, the green onion blade behind him also burned. Gap, 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 gap. Onion Soldier held the two green onion blades and waved them wildly. Although it was determined to become the world's top ingredient, it must not be cooked in such a harsh environment and with such a rough method. At this time, Wutong, who was in the command position behind Onion Soldier, covered his face with his hands. It was too embarrassing. Why would a Pokémon with a fighting style and flash power full of style have such a personality? And the highest goal was also weird. Onion Soldier, calm down. Your onion is not so easy to burn. Wutong took a deep breath, calmed down and shouted. This voice. It's the god of green onions. No, it's his own trainer. After hearing Wutong's voice, the green onion soldier calmed down and swung the two green onion blades downward, bringing up a gust of air. The flames around the green onion soldier became weaker because of the airflow, and the flames on the two green onion blades were also scattered. Your green onion soldier is still the same as before, exactly like you. Xiaoxia teased after seeing that the green onion soldier had returned to normal. I'll just take it as a compliment to me. Come on, let's start our battle again. Wutong said indifferently. I've been waiting impatient for a long time. Beedrill, move at high speed. Continuous slash. Xiaoxia commanded decisively. But the Beedrill's wings vibrated, bringing up waves of after images and rushing towards the green onion soldier. Green onion soldier, hit head on. Wutong also commanded. Gap. The green onion soldier, who had regained his composure, once again became the cold-blooded swordsman. One green onion blade was held in reverse, and the other green onion blade was swung out diagonally from bottom to top. The green onion blade emitting white light directly hit the head of the giant hornet. The giant hornet was stunned by this. What happened? How did it hit it? Question mark? Green onion hornet, sword dance, iron wall. Wutong did not stop and continued to command the green onion hornet. Gap. The green onion hornet's body showed an iron gray luster, and then this iron gray color was compressed and transferred to the two green onion blades and a pair of duck wings. After that, the green onion hornet danced the barbecue dance of Wutong's true teaching. Looking at the green onion hornet who skillfully turned the green onion blade and sprinkled some seasoning from time to time, Wutong began to seriously think about whether the green onion hornet should be excluded from the starting list in such formal combat occasions in the future. Big hornet, stop it. Double needles, continuous slash. Xiaoxia shouted loudly. Buzz the giant hornet shook its head and reorganized its morale and rushed towards the green onion hornet again. The tips of its two needle-like arms flashed with cold light and it slashed at the green onion hornet left and right. However, the onion blades in the hands of the onion ranger just blocked the attack of the Beedrill every time they rotated. The onion ranger's flash power, the extreme attack can use all the skills in the form of attack. And attack is not the best defense, so the offensive barbecue dance of the onion ranger can also be used as a defensive skill. However, the Beedrill's continuous slash is very good. Not only the slash speed is getting faster and faster, but also the strength is getting stronger and stronger. The onion ranger's barbecue dance soon showed signs of weakness, and the loopholes gradually increased. Onion ranger, dance, and swing wildly. Wutong commanded. Gap. After the onion ranger received the command, the two onion blades were suddenly surrounded by black air, and the onion ranger was like a madman, swinging his wings alternately and frantically. The onion ranger, who suddenly burst out, caught up with the Beedrill's continuous slash, but it still didn't work. After all, if it continued, the Beedrill would still suppress the onion ranger again. So Wutong needed a stronger burst to break the situation. Almost done. Kang yubbing, use a substitute. Wutong looked at the giant bee with concentration, then he suddenly commanded. Gap. The onion soldier's body squirmed, and a substitute onion soldier formed by energy was left in place. The onion soldier's body appeared behind the substitute onion soldier. Big Beedrill, catch up with it, move at high speed. Xiaoming commanded. The Beedrill's continuous slashing power at this time was already very terrifying. It directly waved its long needle to knock the substitute Onion Soldier away and then continued to chase the Onion Soldier. Onion Soldier, 3 swords flow purgatory demon slash. Wutong commanded decisively. The Onion Soldier, who had long been accustomed to it, had been ready for a long time, and directly intercepted the substitute Onion Soldier who was knocked away, and the Duck Sword appeared, biting a green blade in his mouth. His wings held the green blade and the Duck Sword tightly on the left and right. The iron wall energy covered the 3 sharp blades, and the black mist wrapped around the Onion Soldier's body. The Purgatory Demon appeared. With a stream of black energy, the Onion Soldier launched an attack. After a dazzling collision, Beedrill fell to the ground. Beedrill lost its ability to fight. Onion Swarm won. Xiaoming was the first to lose 3 Pokémon, and the halftime break will begin. The referee announced with a flag. Chapter 415. The game was a big success, but the game was a big success. During the intermission, Wutong and Xiaoming looked at each other and returned to their rest areas. After Wutong and Xiaoming left the venue, the logistics department and the venue maintenance department arrived immediately. The fire on the grass field was extinguished directly. Looking at the bare grass field, the staff had tears of overtime on their faces. They remembered this grudge. After the silver conference is over, they must put Xiaoming's head in a sack. In the audience, Shinji and Xiaomei looked at the battlefield calmly. It turned out that Wutong was difficult to deal with. Xiaoming had grown a lot, but he still couldn't get the upper hand in front of Wutong. Even the fire field created was dissolved by Wutong. Xiaotong's Farfetch'd was so powerful. Xiaoming's Beedrill attacked so bravely, but it was still defeated by Farfetch'd. Xiaozhi, who also stayed to continue watching the game, said excitedly, "That's not Farfetch'd, it's the evolution of Farfetch'd from other regions." Farfetch'd, didn't the host already say that? Xiaoxia complained on the side. Xiaotong's Farfetch'd is indeed very strong, but the real reason for Farfetch'd's victory is not because Farfetch'd's explosive power is stronger than Beedrill. Xiaogang said seriously. Huh? What's the reason? Xiaozhi asked curiously. Beedrill lost control. Xiaomei replied. Out of control? Why did it lose control? Xiaozhi asked with the look of a curious baby. Xiaoming's Beedrill learned a very strong combo and supporting skills from a mysterious old man. Generally, combos have a maximum damage limit, but Xiaoming's Beedrill has no such limit. Theoretically, if it is given enough time, it can even defeat Adu's Dragonite with 1 slash. Xiaomao continued to explain. Huh. But it lost when it fought against Xiaotong's Onion Swarm. Xiaozhi said. As expected of a Playboy certified tale, is your brain full of air? It has been said that the reason for Beedrill's failure is loss of control. Theory is just theory after all. Any skill will have a burden on the body of Pokémon. Just now, Beedrill has exceeded the limit of its control. Wutong saw this opportunity to let Onion Swarm burst into battle. Shinji said coldly. Whose brain are you talking about? I just didn't think about these things, okay? Xiaozhi retorted dissatisfiedly. Gloomy monster, it seems that we have the same idea for a rare time. I also think that Xiaozhi has nothing in his head. Xiaomei directly joined in. Damn it. Xiaomei, you guy. Xiaozhi gritted his teeth and said. The halftime break was over soon. Wutong led the Green Onion Soldier back to the battlefield. At this time, there was not much grass left in the grass field, where the flames had been extinguished. The scattered grass that escaped the disaster looked so pitiful in the large bare field. The Green Onion Soldier nodded with satisfaction at the disappearing flames, drew out 2 green blades, and walked into the battlefield. Xiaoming also returned to the battlefield, holding a whip in one hand and throwing a Pokeball casually in the other hand. It seems that the disadvantage in the first half did not affect Xiaoming's mentality. Both players are ready. The second half of the game begins. The referee announced after looking around. Go, Guoren Weng. Turn the situation around. Xiaoming threw the Pokeball and shouted. Sonance. With a slightly sharp cry, a Pokémon that looked like a big blue club with flaming red lips appeared on the court. Come on, let's start the counter-attack in the second half. Xiaoming looked at Wutong and said. Chapter 416. The burning grass field. The green onion soldier held 2 green onion blades, staring at the blue club opposite with sharp eyes, and didn't know where to start for a moment. It's not because Xiaoming's Guoranweng has too good defense, but because Guoranweng is completely defenseless. Guoranweng just stood there. If Guoranweng didn't move and scratch his head occasionally, Onion Duck would have thought it was a stone statue. Green onion soldier. Continuous sword dance. Wutong commanded after looking at Guoranweng. After all, Guoranweng didn't have the skill of active attack at all, so Wutong certainly couldn't let go of such a good opportunity to strengthen. Guoranweng, mysterious guard. Xiaoming was idle, so he just let Guoranweng move. Kang Yubing's barbecue dance started again, and he sprinkled the seasonings skillfully. Sonen's Guoranweng saluted, and a faint transparent light shield appeared and wrapped Guoranweng. Continue the mysterious guard. Xiaoming continued to command. Anyway, he couldn't attack, so he prepared for defense in advance. If it was a wild fight, sending only Guoranweng to fight would undoubtedly be a suicidal act. After all, Guoranweng didn't have any taunting skills. But in a formal competition like the Silver Conference, it was not necessarily the case. Even if the opponent knew that he would be counterattacked, if he attacked Guoranweng, he had to take the initiative to attack Guoranweng. So Xiaoming sending Guoranweng could be regarded as a way to put pressure on the opponent in a sense, but Xiaoming knew that this method of exerting pressure was meaningless to Wutong. Kang Yubing's barbecue dance soon reached its limit, and Kang Yubing's attack soon reached its limit. Sure enough, Weng used the mysterious guard again and again, and it was now wrapped in a thick energy shield. The Pokémon on both sides were ready at this time. Kang Yubing, break its shield first, and use the sword style Iai Shishijej. Wutong commanded. Kang Yubing nodded, put away a green blade, and calmly walked in front of Xiaoweng. Anyway, Xiaoweng would not attack, so why waste his energy? As for the duck knife summoned by Kang Yubing in the first half, it disappeared because of the halftime break. So if you want to use the 3-sword style, you can only use the substitute again, and then turn it into a duck knife. This consumes too much energy for Kang Yubing, so Wutong is not going to use it now. He walked in front of Xiaoweng, made a knife collecting action, and then calmed down, and a white light flashed. At the same time that Kang Yubing put away the knife, Xiaoming swung the whip in his hand and made a continuous whip sound. The mysterious guard that had accumulated countless layers was broken. P.S. The mysterious guard is a simple skill to prevent abnormal status in the game, but it has the performance of blocking attacks in animation and comics, more like a shield skill. The green blade of the green onion soldier slashed directly on Guoranweng, but Guoranweng's body was covered with a rainbow-colored light film at this time. The light film energy concentrated and condensed on Guoranweng's arm, and then punched the green onion soldier. See through. Wutong shouted. Gap. The green onion soldier's eyes flashed, and the green onion blade in his hand was tilted a little, deviating from Guoranweng's attack direction, and he dodged Guoranweng's double return. Guoranweng's punch missed, but the attack did not stop, and he swung a punch and hit himself. The hit position was covered by the colorful light film of double return at some point. This time, the energy condensed on the arm on the other side. Double return. Kang Yubing, get out of the way. Wutong commanded helplessly. It started. One of the few battles that made Wutong feel disgusted began. Kang Yubing immediately stepped back and dodged Guoranweng's attack again. However, the same thing happened again. This time it was 8 times the return. Kang Yubing wanted to retreat, but it felt an invisible obstacle. Its shadow stretched out and was stepped on by Guoranweng without knowing when. Guoranweng's characteristic of stepping on shadows can not only prevent the Kang Yubing from being exchanged, but also limit the Kang Yubing's range of action to prevent it from escaping. If it continues, the Kang Yubing will definitely be hit. If it is normal, Wutong can let the Kang Yubing and Guoranweng continue to stalemate. After all, the cost of Guoranweng's failure to hit is also very heavy. But now the Kang Yubing has just fought a big battle. How can he be in such a good state? Substitute. 3 swords flow purgatory demon slash. Wutong had no way to command. Kang Yubing was split into two, and his substitute was smashed directly. Kang Yubing seized the opportunity and held the duck knife in his hand again. 3 knives reappeared, and Purgatory Demon Slash was launched. After continuous fierce knife light, Guoran Weng, who had suffered 2 double returns, fell down. At the moment Guoran Weng fell, a ghost head appeared and sank into the body of Kang Yubing and died together. Kang Yubing, who had little physical strength, fell down directly. At the beginning of the second half of the game, both sides started with a draw again. Chapter 417. The battle was over, but the battle was over. Wutong took back the Green Onion soldiers and felt helpless when he saw Xiaoming on the opposite side, who also took back the Guoran Weng. Unexpectedly, Wutong never thought that Xiaoming would register Guoran Weng for the competition. No, it should be said that he guessed that Xiaoming might send Guoran Weng. But I didn't expect Xiaoming to be so decisive and directly let Guoran Weng replace the unsatisfied Green Onion soldiers. After all, the characteristics of Guoran Weng plus its limited skills are just like the bombs in the military flag. All beings are equal in front of the bomb. If you dare to touch me, it will be a 1-for-1 exchange. Of course, Guoran Weng is not 100% able to complete the same destruction, nor can it only die together, and there is no way to win. After all, the effect of the same fate in reality is far less strong than in the game, and it can be called a skill at the level of causality. In reality, the same fate is more like a trap mechanism. Once triggered, it will cause a lot of unavoidable damage to the triggerer. The greater the difference in strength between the two sides, the smaller the effect of the same fate. After all, it is impossible for an ordinary Pokémon to use the same fate to exchange for Mutuo, right? The difference in strength between Onion Soldier and Guoran Weng is not so significant, and the state of Onion Soldier is not complete. So facing Guoran Weng's same fate, Onion Soldier was taken away together without surprise. Now Wutong still has 3 Pokémon, and Xiaoming still has 2. Although Wutong has always had the advantage, Xiaoming is very resilient and has not allowed Wutong to expand his advantage. Sure enough, Pokémon battles are interesting like this. Wutong couldn't help but smile on his face, which was the joy of fighting. It's really fun. Let me be more cheerful. Go, Ditto, he said while throwing the Pokéball. Ditto, who has been hiding for a long time, should also come out to show his face. As the first appearance of the Silver Conference, Xiaoming is definitely a good opponent. Mao water blue jelly-like ball appeared on the field, and its soft and elastic body swayed on the field. Is it Ditto? Wutong sent a Ditto, a new Pokémon that Wutong has never used in the conference. He chose Ditto in the semi-finals. Is there anything special about this Ditto? The host said passionately. It's Ditto? Very good. This makes me feel important. Snorlax, please. Xiaoming was very happy to see Wutong's choice. After all, he was one of the people who knew the special features of Ditto. Similarly, Xiaoming also went all out and sent a heavyweight Pokémon. Snorlax lowered his head and looked at the Ditto that was not as big as his usual rations and made a cry. Snorlax did not laugh at Ditto. After all, Snorlax had also had a training battle with Ditto and knew that it was a tough guy. This may be the benefit of being familiar with each other. Their Pokémon will not be careless. After all, they have the opportunity to fight each other and have a general understanding of each other's strength. Snorlax, I hope it can keep up with our fighting speed. Ditto, are you ready? Wutong said, and the blue light in his eyes began to flow. Since Ditto has been sent, it must be full of firepower. Ditto twisted its body into a hand shape with a thumbs up, indicating that it is ready. Snorlax, don't be careless, you must knock Ditto down as soon as possible. Xiaoming stretched the whip in his hand and said, Snorlax, he shouted in response. Both players prepare the banquet, and the battle begins. Because of another tie, the referee announced the start here. Snorlax, instant amnesia, curse. Xiaoming took the lead in commanding. Since there is no advantage in speed, give up speed and focus on counter-attack directly. Kirby. Snorlax's expression instantly became confused, and then a purple energy spike fell from the sky and pierced into Snorlax's body. Ditto, fossil pterosaur mode, downwind high speed movement. A blue light flashed in Wutong's eyes. Ditto leaped into the air, its body glowed and transformed, and a pink fossil pterosaur appeared. The airflow wrapped around Ditto's body, and then Ditto's speed increased again, leaving a residual image in the air. Ditto actually transformed directly. Could this Ditto be Wutong's hidden killer? The host said excitedly. Ditto, onion soldier mode, chopping tiles. The Ditto in the fossil pterosaur mode rushed directly towards Snorlax. When it approached Snorlax, its body changed, and a yellow-furred, sword-wielding, shield-wielding green onion soldier appeared, slashing down with green onions. Snorlax, use the mind hammer. Xiaoming commanded. Snorlax. Energy ripples appeared on Snorlax's head, and it crashed into Ditto with light. The two Pokémon collided, and neither of them got the upper hand. Seeing the situation on the field, Wutong knew that he had been guessed, and the expression on Wutong's face became brighter. Such a battle was really pleasant. Chapter 418. After the first collision, Ditto nimbly jumped back and returned to Wutong, and its appearance changed back to that of a blue slime. The potential brought by Ditto's flash power is indeed huge, and the combat power it can show is also very strong. But being strong does not mean being invincible, and potential does not mean strength. First of all, Ditto's battles have very high requirements for trainers. In order to fully exert Ditto's strength, except for Wutong, who is a cheater, only people of Professor Oak's level can do it. After all, it is not a simple matter to know the characteristics, skills, and combat methods of all Pokémon. Most trainers can't even recognize all Pokémon. Even if Wutong can do it, there are still limitations. After all, Wutong is still a human being, so he will inevitably have a habitual way of commanding in battle. This kind of subconscious thing is difficult to change. Humans will always subconsciously do things in the way they are most comfortable with. For Wutong, the Pokémon in the team must be the Pokémon that he can command more easily. Just like facing a fire Pokémon and wanting to extinguish it with water, Wutong is likely to choose Swampert or Turtle rather than the giant crab and ink seahorse that he has never commanded. In addition, Wutong is not a good choice to let Ditto out of transformation mode, so Ditto's choices in battle are not so unlimited. The trainer who fights Wutong's Ditto for the first time will definitely feel desperate and can only try to collide with hard power. People like Xiaoming, who are very familiar with Wutong, have the opportunity to roughly predict Wutong's choice. Although Ditto's fighting style will still make them very irritated, they are not powerless to resist. Now in the first collision, it is obvious that Xiaoming guessed correctly. He guessed that Wutong would first use attribute restraint attacks to deal with Snorlax, and there are only two Pokémon in Wutong's Pokémon that are best at using fighting skills, Swampert and Snorlax. You said Heracross is also a fighting Pokémon? Wutong's training direction for Heracross is not towards fighting, but to train a large-scale turret. Between Swampert and Snorlax, Xiaoming's guess is more inclined to Snorlax, because Wutong just commanded Snorlax to fight. The probability of subconsciously choosing Snorlax is higher, so Xiaoming asked Snorlax to fight back with the Mind Hammer. He guessed correctly, and in the first collision, Snorlax had a small advantage. But this is just the beginning, and it will be difficult to guess it next. Let's speed up, Ditto. Wutong said happily. Ditto responded with a cry, and began to wriggle. Although it has withdrawn from the fossil pterosaur mode, the effects of tailwind and high-speed movement are still there. Ditto is now a slime that wriggles very fast. We can't let them take the initiative. Snorlax, become round and roll. Xiaoming commanded decisively. Snorlax. Snorlax called out and tried hard to shrink his limbs into a background ball, and then began to roll. You know, the momentum of a ping pong ball and a football rolling is completely different. Snorlax's rounding and rolling naturally gives people a sense of oppression. Ditto also received Wutong's command, wriggling all over, and the blue Nidoking appeared. Ditto slapped the ground with both arms, and the power of the earth was activated. The ground suddenly appeared with bumps, and the grass field became uneven. Snorlax, who was still rolling, was directly hindered. It was rolling faster and faster, but because of the change in the ground, it began to lose control of its direction. Moreover, it was directly bounced into the air because of the sloping bump. Ditto did not stop, and its body continued to change. a khaki Steelix appeared, and its whole body flashed red light, and then its tail with white light lashed towards Snorlax in the air. Strange power plus Iron Tail. Snorlax's weight did not make it fly, but it still fell to the ground. Snorlax. Earthquake. Xiaoming's command was very timely, and he shouted when Ditto transformed into Steelix mode. Snorlax took advantage of Ditto's attack and landed heavily. The extremely high weight and landing in the air shook the entire Silver Stadium. However, Snorlax's attack was only it touched Ditto a little, because Ditto transformed again after stopping Snorlax. The pink crow head flew up into the sky, then turned around, and fell straight down, its whole body covered with dazzling white light, and a giant energy bird appeared. Brave Bird fell down, and hit Snorlax directly. Two consecutive collisions with the ground directly stirred up a thick cloud of dust. After the dust dissipated, the pink crow head disappeared, replaced by a pink Pokémon with bulging muscles wrestling with Snorlax. Snorlax withstood the damage of Ditto's Brave Bird's fierce attack and forcibly grabbed Ditto. Wutong also discovered it, and let Ditto change the mode in time. At this time, Ditto became Wutong's real trump card, Swampert. The two Pokémon held each other with foreclaws, and neither wanted to give in. The continuous transformation attacks are very handsome and the attack power is also very strong, but at the same time, the consumption of Ditto is also huge. Fortunately, it was interrupted after only a few changes, and Snorlax's double defense was fully stacked, and the super strong resistance to blows brought by the thick fat made Snorlax's injury much lighter than expected. Now, the two Pokémon finally came into close contact. One side was a pink hunk with bulging muscles, and the other side was a strong man with muscles, hidden under the fat. Both the host and the audience were looking forward to the result of the wrestling. Snorlax, mind the hammer. However, Xiaoming did not want to rely on wrestling to decide the outcome and decisively commanded. Ditto was not to be outdone and rushed over head first. A dull sound appeared, and Ditto and Snorlax let go at the same time, and took 2 steps back. Obviously, both Pokémon were not feeling well, and the field entered a brief period of peace. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 419. The two of them were in a state of panic, and the two sides were in a state of panic. In the venue, Ditto and Snorlax in Swampert mode all covered their heads and squatted on the ground. Oh, Snorlax can't squat down. Sorry. Neither of the two Pokémon expected that the other's head could be so hard. The head was so hard because the brain was solid and the brain was blocked. Ditto and Snorlax looked at each other with malice in their hearts. After the pain was relieved, Ditto and Snorlax reset their postures and prepared for the battle. Ditto did not withdraw from Swampert mode and still maintained the image of a pink muscular man. Snorlax, Mount Tay is pressing down on the top. Xiaoming saw the distance between the two Pokémon at this time and simply chose to win over the other with his size. Kirby. Snorlax called out, and its huge body pressed directly towards Ditto. Ditto, Dream Demon mode. Ditto's body immediately changed, and a yellow-green Pokémon appeared. Facing Snorlax's overwhelming pressure, Ditto didn't move at all, and didn't have the slightest intention of dodging. With a bang, Snorlax fell to the ground, and Ditto was also pressed under Snorlax. However, Ditto, who had turned into a Dream Demon, floated out directly from under Snorlax. Ditto in Dream Demon mode floated behind Snorlax, and beside it, groups of blue twisted flames appeared, and then fell on Snorlax at a speed that seemed slow, but floated to Snorlax in the blink of an eye. Snorlax's body suddenly had some burns. Snorlax, lick with your tongue. Xiaoming shouted. Snorlax heard Xiaoming's command and turned over, opened his mouth, and stuck out his tongue. Under the effect of energy, Snorlax's tongue stretched strangely, like a snake, and rushed towards Ditto. The snake tongue twisted in the air and licked Ditto's body, and Ditto immediately felt a sense of numbness. Xiaoming really taught Snorlax some strange skills. Ditto, Arbok mode, shed skin. Wutong's eyes flashed with blue light and continued to command Ditto. Ditto floated directly to the ground, white light flashed, and dark yellow Arbok appeared. Ditto, who turned into Arbok mode, twisted his body directly, and a layer of snakeskin shed from his body, and the paralysis state just obtained disappeared along with the snakeskin. Giant Beedrill mode, fatal needle piercing. Wutong did not stop. Wouldn't it be a pity not to pierce such a good position? A green giant Beedrill appeared, and the cold light flashed on the double needles, aiming at a tender, soft, and fragile part of Snorlax and piercing it. This is the real fatal needle. It will kill you if you strike. Snorlax, who was still lying on the ground, suddenly felt a chill in the lower part of his back, followed by a piercing pain. Snorlax. Snorlax opened his eyes wide and let out a thunderous roar. The next second, Snorlax bounced directly into the sky with an action that violated physics, and then landed heavily. At this time, Snorlax's eyes were bloodshot, and stared at Ditto. Ditto in Beedrill mode didn't care at all, and even rubbed his two needle-like arms like his predecessors. Snorlax. The man couldn't bear it anymore. Snorlax crashed into Ditto like a tank. Xiaoming was speechless. What was going on? The fatal needle also had the effect of confusion and ridicule. Wutong's fighting style was too cruel. Xiaoming quickly swung the whip in his hand and called out to Snorlax loudly, hoping that it could regain its sanity. When Ditto saw Snorlax going crazy, he flew directly into the air, not giving Snorlax a chance. Xiaoming, as a trainer, still had a lot of dignity. After Snorlax failed to hit him, he regained some rationality, but he still stared at Ditto with bloodshot eyes. Snorlax, shoot it down, destroy it. Xiaoming didn't want to suppress Snorlax's anger, but anger had to be released in a proper way. Snorlax. Snorlax looked up and saw a white energy beam. The speed was so fast that Wutong and Ditto almost didn't react. Fortunately, Wutong's superpowers were always connected to Ditto, and the ideas in Wutong's mind instantly appeared in Ditto's mind. The long-term tacit training made Ditto's body subconsciously execute the command first and make an evasive move, but Snorlax's attack was too fast, and Ditto was still hit on half of his body. Ditto the monster turned back to its original form and fell to the ground. Although Ditto's attack power was very fierce, its endurance and defense were actually much lower than expected. After continuous collisions with Snorlax and eating half of Snorlax's destruction light, Ditto's condition declined rapidly. Wutong knew it was time to decide the winner, and his eyes flashed blue light again. MOW. Ditto also showed a serious expression, and his body emitted a white light. This time the white light of the transformation lasted a little longer than before. After the white light faded, a Pokémon with an ice blue body, dark blue hair, and a split tail that was like two bandages around it appeared. The captain of the Phoenix Guard, the incarnation of the North Wind, the shining Suicune appeared on the battlefield. Seeing the transformation of Ditto, the whole audience fell into a strange silence, and then burst into an amazing noise. You know, this is in the Johto region. Suicune, the incarnation of the North Wind, is a legend that affects everyone in the Johto region. Even if you have never seen Suicune's appearance, you have heard so much about him. From the legend of Suicune and the description of Suicune's figure, people will subconsciously find that this is Suicune. Wutong didn't care. Anyway, he was ready to let Ditto join the battle. It was impossible not to use a trump card of the Divine Beast mode. Anyway, he had to use it, and he must use a mode that had a big enough impact, but was not so scary. Otherwise, wouldn't this be not round enough? And Suicune was the best choice, more suitable than the other two members of the Phoenix Guard, Entei and Raikau. Although Wutong wanted to continue to pretend to be round, it was a pity that Ditto had limited time and had to attack as soon as possible. Ditto, water cannon. Wutong waved his hand and commanded. Ditto made an ethereal humming sound, and a gust of wind suddenly rolled up around him. Water flow emerged in the wind, and swirled and gathered on Ditto's head. Really? Then I'm the background board, right? Snorlax. Cheer up. Destroy the death light. Xiaoming commanded unhappily. Kirby. Snorlax also shouted in response, and the revenge of Thorny Chrysanthemum must be avenged. After the water flow gathered enough, a huge water column with wind shot towards Snorlax. Snorlax was not afraid, and the energy condensed in his mouth was sprayed out, and the white energy beam pushed forward. The water column collided with the energy beam, and a dazzling white light appeared with the explosion. After the white light dissipated, only the elegant incarnation of the North Wind stood on the field. Snorlax was still not able to beat Ditto after all. The whole audience suddenly burst into the most intense applause since the start of the Silver Conference. Chapter 420. The game was a big success, but the game was a big success. In the grass field, Snorlax was lying on his back, his eyes spinning in a vortex. The referee also regained his composure amid the applause of the audience, raised the flag and announced loudly, Snorlax has lost his ability to fight. Ditto wins. It's really amazing. Wutong has brought us another surprise. Wutong's Ditto not only has the ability to transform freely, but also has become the incarnation of the legendary North Wind, Suicune. Has Wutong ever met Suicune? An extremely excited voice came from the broadcast. Wutong sighed helplessly as he looked at Ditto, who was still in Suicune mode on the field. It seems that he needs to give these little guys in the second echelon some ideological education. The most deadly thing is to pretend to be awesome on the battlefield. As expected by Wutong, Ditto on the field directly turned back to the blue slime after the referee announced the result of the game. Then he collapsed to the ground and lost consciousness. The referee, who had just put down the flag, was a little embarrassed. What happened? You collapsed just after he announced the result. Ditto, come back. Wutong took back Ditto directly. In this way, Xiaoming only had one Pokémon left, and Wutong himself had two Pokémon left. Xiaoming's last Pokémon didn't need to think too much. It must be this. Thank you for your hard work, Snorlax. Sandslash, please. Xiaoming happily exchanged Pokémon. As Wutong expected, Xiaoming's last Pokémon was his absolute trump card, Sandslash. Wutong threw the Pokéball in his hand without hesitation. Rag the pink hunk, who hadn't appeared for a long time, appeared. Use the trump card to deal with the trump card. Seeing Wutong's choice, Xiaoming smiled brightly. Although he knew that his Silver Conference journey might end here, it did not hinder his happy mood at the moment. Among the four people in the night tea party, Shinji, Xiaomei and Xiaoming were all influenced by Wutong. But Xiaoming was undoubtedly the one who was most influenced, not in terms of fighting style, but in terms of personality, hobbies and even life. Xiaoming himself knew that normally, it would be impossible for him to integrate into the circle of Wutong, Xiaomei and Shinji with his identity. It was because after meeting Wutong, he got to know Xiaomei and Shinji, and had enough funds to travel and conduct his favorite research. With his own Pokémon illustrated book, he also had many unforgettable memories. Although Xiaoming always liked to joke and call Wutong boss, Wutong never looked down on Xiaoming and truly treated Xiaoming as a good friend and brother. Now, knowing that he only had one Pokémon, Wutong did not hesitate to send Swampert directly to have an ace battle with him. This respect from his brother made Xiaoming more motivated. Sure enough, the boss is the boss. Sandslash, let's fight to the last bit of strength, Xiaoming said, after moving his wrist. Sandslash nodded firmly and showed his claws, looking at Swampert with a fierce look. Be careful, I haven't participated in a formal competition with Swampert for a long time. Don't be defeated too quickly, Wutong said jokingly. Rag. Swampert called out in response, bumped his fists, and looked at Sandslash with the same excitement. Chapter 421. The game was over, but the game was over. There was no need for the referee to announce the start. The moment Swampert and Sandslash were ready, Wutong and Xiaoming took action at the same time. However, neither of them spoke. Blue light flashed in Wutong's eyes, and his superpowers were activated. His spirit was connected with Swampert. Swampert, stomp. Xiaoming looked serious, and he swung the whip in his hand, making a crisp whip sound. Rag. Swampert stomped his feet hard, and a shockwave flew out and pointed directly at Sandslash. Sandslash's claws suddenly pierced the ground, as if it was piercing tofu easily, and then the claws suddenly lifted up, and huge rocks shot out from the ground and hit Swampert. Rock blockade. After the attack, the two Pokémons tacitly protected their arms in front of them, and blocked each other's attacks. Swampert was hit by two stones, and many boulders fell nearby to hinder Swampert's movement. Sandslash was hit by the shockwave, and its body sank, and its speed was also reduced. Wutong and Xiaoming chose to slow down each other at the first time. Wutong and Xiaoming started a fierce battle. but I seem to find that Wutong has basically not given any orders since just now. Why is this? Is Wutong's Pokémon so independent that it can defeat the opponent without any orders? The host said puzzledly. When Ditto was fighting just now, the host and the audience were all attracted by Ditto, especially when Ditto transformed into Suicune. No one noticed whether Wutong gave any orders. Now, after Ditto left the stage and the two sides started a relatively normal battle, Wutong's special features were revealed. Although Xiaoming also did not give orders, his constantly swinging whip and crisp whip sound also proved that he was not without orders, but he just replaced verbal orders with whip sounds of different rhythms. The host's eyesight could easily see it, but Wutong did not move throughout the whole process, and the host could not see the light flowing in Wutong's eyes from where he was. Even if he saw it, he would just think that Wutong's eyes were more energetic, and he would not approach the command method at all. Therefore, Wutong's motionless behavior made the host mistakenly believe that Wutong's Pokémon had the ability to fight Pokémon with trainer's orders independently. Wutong ignored the host's surprise. Now he just wanted to defeat Xiaoming. Swampert, water flow breaks, water arm guard drag. Swampert, who was protecting himself with his arms, roared, and water flowed around his arms. The water flow gradually flowed in a fixed area and formed into a flowing arm guard glove. Xiaoming also waved the whip and made a series of whip sounds. The body of the Sandshrew twisted strangely and then split into two and then split into more than 10. More than 10 Sandshrews rushed towards Swampert together. Self-motivation. Continuous arm hammer attack. Rag. Swampert called out again, and his arms emitted white light, and the water arm armor emitted a faint blue light under the reflection of the white light. Facing the dozens of Sandshrews rushing towards him, Swampert didn't care at all, waving his arms back and forth, blocking the nearest attack, while smashing one Sandshrew after another. After smashing 5 or 6 fake Sandshrews in a row, Swampert punched down, and the Sandshrews that were hit did not dissipate, and Swampert also had a sense of being hit. Swampert felt that he had discovered the real body of the Sandshrew, and without any hesitation, he swung his fists continuously and kept beating the Sandshrew. Swampert simply ignored the attacks of other fake Sandshrews. Wutong, who was always watching the situation in the field, felt something was wrong and decisively ordered, "Swampert, double return." Swampert received Wutong's order and stopped attacking, although he was confused. His whole body was covered with a rainbow light film. At the moment when Swampert's double return was successfully launched, the claws of the Sandsling behind Swampert, which it identified as a fake, showed a dazzling white light and stabbed Swampert fiercely. Rag. Swampert suddenly felt a sharp pain in his lower back, as if his kidney was torn apart. Swampert did not hesitate, and the rainbow energy of his whole body condensed on his fist. He turned around and punched the fake Sandsling. The Sandsling, who succeeded in the sneak attack, did not expect Swampert's counterattack to be so fast. He was not able to react for a while, and was directly punched away by Swampert. This time it is difficult to tell who has the upper hand in the combined attack and defense, but it is certain that both Pokémon have been hurt. Seeing the flying Sandslash, Wutong verified his guess. Sure enough, the Sandslash that split into two at the beginning was not a shadow clone at all. Sandslash used the substitute first, and then the shadow clone. Then when the substitute and the shadow clone attacked together, Sandslash's body hid at the end of a group of fakes, and used the substitute to paralyze Swampert. Then give a fatal blow, when Swampert was unprepared. Fortunately, Wutong saw through Xiaoming's tactics in time. It must be said that Xiaoming is really talented in playing dirty. If Wutong hadn't reacted quickly enough, he would have fallen into Xiaoming's trap. Seeing Swampert complete the counterattack, Xiaoming also showed a regretful expression. He thought that, even if he couldn't take Swampert away in one wave, he could still come up with a set of combos. Unexpectedly, Wutong's reaction was so fast. Sure enough, it's not that easy to start a business. Chapter 422. The battle was a battle, but the battle was a battle. Xiaoming didn't care that his tactics were seen through. After all, he was prepared to be seen through when he chose this tactic. Or, if Wutong didn't see through it, Xiaoming would be disappointed. The grass field. No, after the battle between Wutong and Xiaoming, the grass field has become a rock field. The water armor on Swamput's arms has dissipated, and Swamput is half lying on the ground, with one claw covering his lower back, and his face looks a little distorted. The bastard Sansang actually used the tearing claw to dig out its kidneys. Although Swamput didn't know whether he had kidneys, according to the little tricks Wutong had told it about fighting, Sansang should have hit the kidneys. Sansang was not much better at this time. Swamput's extreme counterattack punched Sansang's abdomen. The soft abdomen without the protection of the shell is already a weakness for Sansang. At the command positions on both sides of the field, Wutong and Xiaoming took action again. Swamput, water flow breaks, ice arm armor, slam. Wutong commanded while feeling the slight pain in his temple. Using superpowers to command for 2 consecutive games has also consumed Wutong. The slight pain in his temple at this time is a warning. Rag. Swamput stood up again, and water flow wrapped around his arms again. The next second, the water flow condensed into ice inch by inch. A set of ice arm armor appeared. On the other side, Xiaoming was not in a daze either. The whip in his hand kept swinging, and the syllables formed were like telegrams. Sansang, who received the instructions, had a sticky purple liquid coming out of his claws, and the sticky purple liquid spread all the way to the Sansang's forearm. After the sticky purple liquid covered it, dark purple energy appeared, allowing Sandslash's claws to extend again. The dark purple energy and the sticky purple liquid interacted with each other, making Sandslash look like he was wearing a pair of dark purple crystal claws. Xiaoming had seen Swamput's ice arm good many times, plus the usual training battles and mutual exchanges on Pokémon training. Xiaoming naturally developed the Shadow Poison Claws similar to the Ice Arm good through the fusion of the 2 skills of Poison Attack and Shadow Claws. Although I don't know why, the power is not as violent as when Swamput uses it. It is also a very good combination skill. It can only be said that combination and fusion are different after all. For Shinji, Xiaomao and Xiaoming, the development of many skills is not impossible, but they just didn't think of it. With inspiration or templates, it is easy to complete the reproduction. After all, Xiaoxi's counterattack shield was also borrowed by Shinji. The moment the 2 Pokémon were ready to attack, the battle began again. Swamput kicked the ground with his limbs, and his body popped out like a cannonball. At the moment of popping out, Swamput stretched out his arms and flew like a Superman. Sandslash did not stop there, and also rushed towards Swamput, grabbing Swamput with his claws. Of course, Sandslash would definitely not dare to take Swamput's impact head on. With Swamput's explosive power, if Sandslash dared to take it head on, the battle would probably be over. Sandslash flexibly sideways, passing by Swamput, and grabbing Swamput with one claw. Swamput seemed to have been prepared for it. He punched the ground, forcibly stopped his body, and then swung another punch horizontally at Sandslash. The fist and claw collided together, and Sandslash was directly beaten back under the advantage of strength. However, Sandslash did not retreat, and rushed forward again, waving his claws back and forth, leaving scars on Swamput. Swamput's attack was powerful and heavy, constantly forcing Sandslash back, but Sandslash was determined not to confront Swamput head on, making Swamput feel uncomfortable, as if he couldn't use all his strength. Sandslash's claws were poisonous after all, and Wutong knew that he couldn't afford to delay. Even though Wutong had already determined that, even if Swamput was worn out, Xiaoming would not be able to win, and he could let Swamput hide a little bit of his strength, Wutong still didn't want to make any tactical defeat. Not only because Xiaoming was one of his good brothers, but also because Swamput was Wutong's trump card, and the meaning of the trump card was to win. Swamput, water flow split, arm hammer stomped. Wutong commanded decisively. This is Swamput's strongest skill at present. Of course, it is not a fusion of 4 skills, but a combination of 2 fusion skills. With Swamput's current body and strength, it is not possible to do it. There is no way to combine 4 skills. Rag. Swamput roared and swung his fists horizontally to force Sandsling back. Then he kept hammering the ground with his fists wearing the ice arm armor. One after another, energy waves with cold air rushed out in all directions, and Sandsling could not avoid them at such a close distance. Under the baptism of one after another cold shockwave, ice crystals began to condense on Sandsling's body, and at the same time, it suffered rounds of damage. Sandsling tried to rush to Swampert, but unfortunately failed after only a few steps. Sandsling looked at Swampert, who was close yet far away, unwillingly, and fell to the ground with resentment. Swampert, who had purple poisonous wounds on his body, also showed a happy expression after seeing Sandsling lost consciousness and lay straight on the ground gasping for breath. The winner has been decided. Winner: Wutong. Chapter 423. The game was played, and the audience was excited again. As the referee announced the result of the game, the whole audience was in a frenzy again. The battle between Wutong and Xiaoming was definitely the best since the opening of the Silver Conference. Let us congratulate Wutong for entering the finals. At the same time, thank Xiaoming for bringing us such a high quality game, said the host. After the host's voice fell, the whole audience also broke out in very warm applause. Somewhere in the corner of the audience, two figures stood there silently watching Wutong leave. You actually have time to come here to watch Xiaotong's game? It seems that you really want him to be your successor. Kona leaned against the wall and said to Adu, who was still wrapped in a cloak beside him. I just happened to pass by here, so I came to take a look, and that guy is still far from enough. Adu said. But he has great potential, doesn't he? And Xiaotong's friends are also very good. Maybe the next generation needs to be led by them. Kona said with a smile on his face. So you let them work for you? Adu asked back. No way. Who made the alliance short of manpower? But Xiaotong's ditto is really interesting. It can transform freely and can transform into Suicune. There must be many people interested in it. Kona said. This idiot, I clearly told him not to use that transformation, unless it is absolutely necessary. Adu said with a headache after hearing Kona's words. You're a little overprotective of him. With Xiaotong's current strength, he should have reached the level of an ordinary gym owner, but he hasn't found his own path yet. Otherwise he could have applied to build a gym. Ordinary dangers are just a kind of training for him. Flowers in a greenhouse can't become the leaders of an era. Kona shook his head and said, maybe you're right, but now is not the time for them to appear. They all need training. After saying that, Adu threw his cloak and turned away. TSK, when can this taste be changed? No matter how much you like the cloak, you should change it to a new style. Alas, Xiaotong is more interesting. Kona complained as he watched Adu leave. Back in the player lounge, Wutong and Xiaoming handed their Pokémon to Miss Joyful treatment. The two sat on the sofa in the rest area together. Xiaoming lay directly on the backrest of the sofa, looking relaxed, looking like he had just completed a big thing, not like he had lost the game at all. Wutong also collapsed on another sofa in the same posture. Neither of them spoke, and the space fell into silence. I still lost, Xiaoming said suddenly after a while. As long as it's a competition, there will definitely be winners and losers, and I'm very strong. Wutong responded calmly. But, boss, you seem to have never failed in a formal competition, Xiaoming said, looking at the ceiling. Really? I didn't expect that I was such an invincible person. It seems that I will take an invincible road. Wutong replied jokingly. Boss, do you think it's better for me to concentrate on researching the equipment for Pokémon training than Pokémon trainers? Xiaoming continued to ask. After hearing Xiaoming's words, Wutong sat up all of a sudden and looked at Xiaoming with a surprised face. Could he be autistic? Although Pokémon battles are very exciting, I also like the feeling of researching various devices. Maybe one day I will want to change my career, Xiaoming said calmly, as if he was talking about someone else's business. Wutong remained silent because he didn't know how to answer Xiaoming at this moment. However, before that, I really have to defeat you, the boss, at the conference, otherwise I will not rest in peace. Xiaoming also sat up and said to Wutong, then you have to work hard. After all, I'm the target of many people now. If you don't work hard enough, you won't even be qualified to break through. Wutong teased. HMPH, don't worry, even if I crawl, I will crawl over these guys to you and defeat you, Xiaoming said seriously. Looking at Xiaoming's serious look, Wutong suddenly thought of his grandparents, as well as Liubo, Orange, Steel and others. Perhaps they were in this state when they faced Professor Oak. So am I Professor Oak's character now? That's not bad. Wutong thought with a smile on his face. Let's go. Let's get Sansang back and go eat. There's a match between Shinji and Xiaomei in the afternoon. I don't know which guy will compete with me for the third place. Xiaoming stood up and stretched and said. That's a good question. I'm looking forward to the result. Wutong followed him and said. At the same time, in the waiting room for the players, Xiaomei and Shinji stayed quietly in their respective waiting rooms. Xiaomei looked at the two halves of the old Pokeball in his hand, while Shinji laid out several Pokeballs in a row, his eyes constantly wandering over the Pokeballs. Neither of them wanted to fail in the afternoon's game. Chapter 424. The game was over, but the players were still busy. Shinji and Xiaomei were waiting for the game in the waiting room, but for some reason, they felt an inexplicable discomfort. Time passed quickly, and the lunch break was over. With a call broadcast, Shinji and Xiaomei stood up at the same time and walked towards their battlefield. Walking into the Silver Stadium, Shinji and Xiaomei stood in their own command positions, and the two looked at each other calmly. The silence between the two seemed so out of place, compared to the noise of the entire stadium. Come on, Shinji. Crush the opponent. Xiaomei will win. Invincible in this battle. Two artificial shouts came from behind the two of them. Shinji and Xiaomei's bodies instantly stiffened. They turned their heads stiffly and looked at their friends and relative seats with the same action, as if they were looking in the mirror. In Xiaomei's friends and relative seats, in addition to the cheerleading team of his girlfriend who always attended the game, there was also a suspicious guy holding a straight tube speaker and shouting. Xiaomei looked at the guy wearing a baseball cap, frog eye glasses, and a dark green sportswear with a twitching eye. If I'm not mistaken, it should be that bastard Xiaoming. Then, Xiaomei thought and immediately turned his head to look behind Shinji. At this time, Shinji also looked at his friends and relative seats with a gloomy face. A guy with inexplicable fluffy curly hair, a big beard on his face, and a large loose t-shirt with the word majestic on his body, was waving a light board with the words Shinji will win. This idiot, Shinji said with gritted teeth. After saying that, Shinji also thought of something, and immediately looked behind Xiaomei. Shinji and Xiaomei both saw the figure they wanted to see behind each other. But, it's good that they are not the only ones. It has been said many times that Xiaoming is the one who is most influenced by Wutong among the few people. So, what will happen if a guy who likes to make trouble when he is bored meets another guy who also likes to make trouble, and there is no one to suppress them? Without Shinji and Xiaomei as suppressors, Wutong and Xiaoming will definitely make trouble. As an excellent trainer, how can you not have a dedicated coach? So Wutong and Xiaoming completed the transformation according to the image of the coach in their minds, and appeared in the relatives and friends seat at the same time, to cheer for their disciples. Shinji and Xiaomei took a deep breath, and decided to ignore the two guys behind them for the time being, but tonight, the theme of the night tea party has been determined. However, because of the operation of Wutong and Xiaoming, the two people who were originally in a very solemn mood became much more relaxed. It was still the familiar process, choosing the venue, and deciding the first move. This time the venue was the rock venue, and Shinji got the first move. Heracross, prepare for battle. Shinji, who had the first move, sent out his Pokémon first. It's rare that we think of the same thing. Go, Karis. Xiaomei said as he tossed the Pokeball in his hand. Hera. The scarred Heracross appeared on the field. Kalo. Karis appeared, and the two giant horns on his head, clamped together in a threatening manner. Heracross and Karis both saw each other. The familiar old rivals met on the battlefield, and the fighting spirit of Heracross and Karis instantly reached the extreme. Both players are ready, the game begins. Chapter 425. The referee said that Heracross and Karis rushed towards each other without the command of their trainers. The two Pokémon, who were old rivals when they were captured, started wrestling at the first moment. It was not just a contest of arm strength, but the heads of the two Pokémon with the big horns of the proud beasts were also twisting constantly, and the horns collided with each other, and no one wanted to give in. Heracross/Karis. Sword dance. Shinji and Xiaomei shouted at the same time. You know, the reason why the two captured Heracross and Karis was because they could sword dance. Hera. Kalo. the two Pokémon wrestling roared at the same time, and the energy swords appeared. Unlike usual, the energy swords of both sides did not merge into their bodies after they appeared, but began to attack each other. The collision of the energy swords caused a few starlights to explode around Heracross and Karis. These exploding energy points were not wasted, and were all absorbed into the bodies of Heracross and Karis. With the blessing of the sword dance, the offensive of Heracross and Karis became more fierce. The collision of horns even aroused a few sparks. Heracross, super horn attack. Shinji commanded. Kalo, cross scissors. Xiaomao shouted with a wave of his hand. Heracross leaned back slightly, and the huge horn on his head emitted a white light, and then he crashed into Karis. Karis' two long horns also emitted a dazzling white light, and his head tilted forward, cutting directly towards Heracross. Zeng. Like the sound of metal colliding, the horns of Heracross and Karis pressed tightly together. The sparks that appeared due to the collision of the horns fell on Heracross and Karis, but the two Pokémon seemed to have no feeling, and their eyes were still fixed on their opponents. Kalo, brute force. Xiaomao commanded. Kalo. A little bit of red and yellow energy rose around Karis. Karis suddenly exerted force, directly lifted up Heracross who was wrestling with it, and then threw it out fiercely. Heracross, revenge. Shinji calmly commanded Heracross to fight back. Heracross, who fell to the ground, ignored the pain in his body, bounced directly from the ground, and then used the horn on his head to hit Karis. A muffled sound appeared, and Karis was directly knocked away. Karis also quickly adjusted his state, and after standing up from the ground, he looked at Heracross with full fighting spirit. In the first round of the battle between Shinji and Xiaomao, both sides tacitly chose to attack without reservation. In the two teams, Heracross and Karis are the most suitable pioneers for this kind of work. At the same time, the two Pokémon who are old rivals directly ignited the whole audience at the beginning. Although there is no skill in this first round of the Battle of the Insect King, it is this kind of fist to flesh, fierce attack that can ignite the enthusiasm of the audience on the field. The reason why Shinji and Xiaomao chose this start is also because they understand that for two people with similar strength, winning the first round is very important. Whoever can play the state first and suppress the opponent in momentum will have a higher chance of winning. Heracross, close combat. Karis, make a big fuss. Shinji and Xiaomao commanded again at the same time. White airflow like energy appeared in Heracross's claws. Karis' eyes flashed red. Heracross and Karis rushed towards each other again. Heracross's whole body seemed to have turned into a weapon, using all the parts of his body that could cause damage to attack Karis. Karis was like a madman, as if he had completely lost his mind. He ignored Heracross's attack, and attacked Heracross with his claws, and the horns on his head. Heracross and Karis fought back and forth, and the word retreat had completely disappeared from the consciousness of the two Pokémon. At this time, the two Pokémon only wanted to attack each other. You hit me with a punch, okay, I must hit you back with two punches. Your horn hit me, then I must double back. Nothing could stop the attack of the two Pokémon, one after another. The only thing left in the consciousness of Heracross and Karis was attack. Looking at such a tragic battle on the field, Shinji and Xiaomao were all calm, quietly waiting for the end. Results. Shinji and Xiaomao both knew that Heracross and Karis could no longer hear the command of their trainer. At this time, the two Pokémon only wanted to give each other another hard blow. This state will only end if one of them falls first. The fierce attack did not last too long. As if they had agreed in advance, Heracross and Karis stopped at the same time. Both Pokémon took 2 steps back and then fell backwards to the ground in unison. Heracross and Karis have lost their ability to fight at the same time. The referee looked around and raised the flag and announced, "End of this chapter." Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.